Hi everybody, good afternoon, hope you're well. We're starting very shortly, so just thought I'd come on maybe 3 minutes earlier to give people a chance to get on and to see this. So we'll start literally bang on the dot at 3:30. So welcome to day 2 of How to Be Powerful During Challenging Times. This is from 1000 Black Boys, and my name is Ademola Adeyeba, and I'm the founder of 1000 Black Boys. So thank you for coming on. So just thought I'd come on 2-3 minutes earlier to give us a chance. And for those of you that are on really early, you see that I'm also looking this way as well. So I'm looking right ahead. I'm also looking to my right. It's because I've got 2 screens, and the second screen is where I can see you, and the screen in front of me is where I can see all the content that we're going to go through today. So welcome. Hi there, everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome. So this is day 2. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday. Yeah, and today we're also live on YouTube. So we've got a YouTube page set up last night. Yeah, so YouTube came through yesterday. So we're going to be streaming live on 3 pages on Facebook, Twitter, through Periscope, and then also YouTube. So those 5 things. So it's absolutely amazing. So how's your day going so far? You can interact with me, put some comments down for those of you that are early. Just type in how your day's going. Let's get some interaction. And I know you guys aren't shy, so please don't be shy. Let me know how your day's going. Are you enjoying your Saturday? Today's cooler than yesterday. That's nice. And for those of you that were on yesterday, so let us know, like, what did you get from yesterday? How was it? Yeah, like, how was it for you yesterday? What are the main things that are staying with you? What are the salient points for you? Yeah. Okay, so it's 3:30. So hi everybody, welcome to day 2 of the 1000 Black Boys virtual event. And the title for yesterday and today is How to Be Powerful During Challenging Times. So how do you deal with what's currently going on in the world? And so how can you deal with it with power? So rather than being pushed around and by being a victim of it, how can you be somebody who's powerful and who deals with all of these with incredible focus? So I'm going to just really briefly recap yesterday, and we're going to have one of our speakers come along very shortly. So yesterday, we just literally set the scene. I spoke about, so who are we? Who are 1000 Black Boys? So my name is Ademola Adeyeba. And like I said yesterday, the same thing also applies to you today. So thank you for being here, firstly, and well done for being here. So we sent out lots of invitations to lots of different people. We made this available through advertising on Facebook. We're streaming this on 5 different places. So lots of people have access to this, and you've chosen to be on this. So thank you very much, and well done for being here. 1000 Black Boys, we are an organization that's committed to making a difference to young Black boys and young Black men. And we see that as an access to making society work. So we see that impacting Black boys and young Black men is how we get to have society work for every single person. And we're entrepreneurs. So we're a group of entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, coaches, mentors, parents, sons, daughters, sisters. We're basically like you. And we have a passion for this. And we definitely want to make a difference. We've also seen the media's narrative. We've seen the media's narrative around Black boys, Black men. We've seen the school system. We've seen society and the impact of that. We've seen environment. So we definitely see the challenges. We see all of that, and we continue to see all of that. And what really brings us together as a group is we do want to deal with the challenges. The really powerful thing is we see the opportunities and we see the potentials. So where the media might see unruly, troubling, dangerous Black boys and Black men, we see incredible potential. I've done sessions in schools, or at least one session in a school that I remember, And I said to them, give me your hardest to reach black boys. I want to have a chat with them. And they came in, they sat down, and I did a session with them that I've done with business people. And one boy in particular, he got everything like that, like bang, bang, bang. Literally, like his first words dealt with every single thing that was being demonstrated and displayed on my board. And everybody else in the room got it really quickly as well. And I was thinking to myself, you guys you're not hard to reach. It's just how you've been engaged with. You guys are incredibly clever and just totally smart. So we see that. And it's that potential, that vision, and that power that brings us together. So we want to focus on that. So let me share this with you. So the short part of why do we exist? The short version is we exist to inspire black boys and young black men to unleash their potential and to live a life of purpose. Just let that sink in. That's why we're here. That's what we're here for. Secondly, the full vision is we exist to empower and enable black boys and young black men to discover their greatness, to unleash their uniqueness, to innovate, and to create things that have never been done before. We want them to have the audacity to dream big, and in so doing, transform the world. So that's what we stand for as an organization. And we're sharing that with you. Hopefully that connects, and hopefully you can take that to back to your schools, back to your homes, back to your businesses, back to your teams, your families. Yeah. So that's what we're about. And if that resonates with you, you can message us through our site, see how you can get involved. And why we're doing this right now, just a really quick one on this page, is the COVID-19 lockdown, 14 weeks. We're approaching the 15th week this coming Monday. We saw the killing of George Floyd in the US and killings of other black men in the US. We've seen the protests and the riots. We've seen that over in the UK with the protests. And we chose that it's time for us to engage because we are a very powerful community and we can see momentum. And we want that momentum to actually turn into proper transformation. So not just into temporary change, but things that go beyond the protests and that take us to change in policy, that takes us to economic and financial empowerment, that takes us to development for our community. So for us, we're not about being angry, afraid, or confused. It's okay to be angry, but just not for long. Be angry, catch it, and then turn that into clarity, into power, into focus, and into strategy. So that's what we're about. And that's why we are here today, essentially. And that's why we came on from yesterday. So everybody's invited. So for us, our focus is black boys and young black men. They're the ones that we're speaking to. We want to be really, really clear. And we also know that it takes a village to raise a child. So our message naturally permeates and touches every single person within our community and beyond. So that's why everyone's always welcome to our sessions. And yesterday we had some incredible entrepreneurs and business people who've dealt with challenges. I spoke about how to master your thoughts, how to catch the self-sabotage mechanism. I call it the chimp, how you catch that disempowers you and you step into reality and you produce incredible results. And just to also say, I'm also one of the leading mindset coaches in Europe. With the work that I've done, I worked with a very popular self-development company and I was #1 out of 400. On another level, I was one of only 4 in Europe and one of 200, around 200 globally. So I know that this is massively important to producing results. It's huge. It's huge. So my session touched on that. Alexia spoke about her challenges and how she came through those challenges. And now she's inspiring a whole generation of young people. It's amazing. And then we had Andrew Mohammed spoke, and he gave the analogy of the elephants and how they were growing up without elders to basically mentor them as they were growing up. And that had an impact on their aggression. And he brought that back to our community and then was like, whoa, so that's where it's going with that one. And the penny dropped. So we are very clear that we need to be that for our community as well, 100%. Yeah, so keep interacting with me. Someone said, I can't hear you. I hope that's okay now, David. So yeah, can everybody hear me? I'm hoping you can hear me. So yeah, so literally Powerful message by Andrew Mohammed. It was huge. And then we also had Elizabeth speak about her business and her challenges, and spoke about how she's dealt with them, from facing racism in the workplace to quitting that workplace, starting her own business, almost 6 figures in year 1. And then coronavirus hits and the business goes flying, bam, hit, big time. And since the lockdown, she's lost, in terms of bookings and revenue, £72,000. But during this time, she's been powerful and created other revenue streams for her business. I think that's pretty inspiring. And then we close off. So now we're back here again today. So you got me, Ademola. We've got Trey coming along very, very shortly. So this is being streamed live on all those platforms. Also add YouTube to that as well. And so that's the start. And my request for you is, please engage with me. So normally I'd be like in a big room, or I'd physically be in a room coaching and talking to people, or I'd be in a smaller workshop on Zoom and there's more interaction. But this is a stream, right? It's going out there into the world. So comment, speak, say something. Let me know how this is landing for you. Let me know what resonated with you for yesterday. And also share, what do you want to get from today? So I'm going to look to my right-hand side. So share what you want to get from today. And like I was saying to those that came on early, I've got 2 screens. So this is where I can see you, or you can see me. And then to the right is where I can see you. So I'll often look over to my right-hand side so that I could see you, and so I could see your interacting with me. So let's do this. I think this is a good time. I'll actually bring Trey on about 5 minutes earlier, so we have a little bit longer towards the end. This is an incredible speaker. He's also one of the top mindset coaches in Europe. And we also want to show you that for Black boys and young Black men, there are people that look just like you who are doing incredible in their fields. And we want you to get that. So this is another incredible person. So let me bring him on. Bear with me, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Adding him to the stream. Trey.
Hey.
How are you doing? You all right?
I'm good. I've actually got 2 screens on, so if I'm looking up, looking down, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, happy to be here. Excited.
Brilliant. Now, thanks a lot for coming on. And I know that you definitely, there's a slight delay, but it does catch up. But keep going. But the thing I really want to say, so there's definitely something that we want to leave people with today. So we want them to literally go away with some.
Can you hear me okay?
Say that again.
Can you hear me okay? It's a little bit slow at my end as well.
My thumbs up. I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, cool. Perfect. How's it going, everyone? I'm excited to be here to talk at this event.
Yeah, and feel free to interact with us. Please send us through your messages. So let me just quickly.
Definitely, guys. I mean,
so literally, Trey. So we want to leave you with some really powerful tools from today. Some things that you can go away with and actually use. And I'm going to summarize it all towards the end. So I'm going to pass over to Trey now to lead us for the next 30 minutes. Trey, over to you.
Excellent. Right, let me share my screen, because what I'm going to do is just share my story and then share how my coaching I use to inspire, to make a difference, and to mentor people. So I'm just going to share the screen with you now. There, 1 second, share application. And at this moment, you're now going to be blind to me because all I'm going to see is my screen. Can you see it?
Let's have a look. Yeah, I can see your screen. I'm adding your screen to the stream. Yep, so your screen is now up.
Excellent, interesting. It's up, yeah? Because I'm watching it live on Facebook. I can't see it.
Your screen's live.
Definitely. All right, cool. Now I can see it. It's just a bit of a delay. So welcome, guys. So I just want to share a little bit about myself, because my story is going to intertwine with my coaching and what we're dealing with right now and how to be powerful in troubling times. So a bit about me. My name's Trey Lowe. I'm from West London, Notting Hill. Now, most people know me as a musician, one half of the band Architects. And for anyone thinking, oh, what music have they done? Let's see if anyone knows our most famous track. Can you hear it? So I'm sure there are a few people that have been boogieing to that song over the years. I'm also a music pundit as well, and I've been doing that for a number of years. So here's an example of some of the work I do around that.
And grime artist, Big Nasty as well. Has it been a bad year for black music, Trey?
I think it's been a phenomenal year when you think about, like, you know, you look at Skepta's success, you look at Lady Alicia's success with the Queen's Speech, you look at Crept and Kona. I mean, come on, the album was huge.
So I'm really, really passionate about music. I'm really passionate about inspiring people. I think music for me is the most, you know, ubiquitous way to really just share change and to make a difference out there. So I love doing that. Another one of my loves is property. And all of this I'm sharing with you, I'm going to tie in how it's so important to how we deal powerfully now in troubling times. So one of the projects I'm working on at the moment is with a family portfolio, and we're looking at how to 5x the portfolio amount in the next couple of years, and also to give back. So things like building schools in Africa, etc. And again, this is going to be very key to what I believe, you know, will really make a difference in troubling times, especially for young black boys. I think being an entrepreneur is very, very key, and I'm going to go into that a little bit further. So one thing I love about property is it gives me the time and the freedom and the ability to make a difference. I love having money work for me than me work for it. And I'm going to explain why I even got into that in the first place and why my mindset went down that road. So I also a co-founder of a company called CLIQUE Academy, where we teach people how to get into property. You know, one thing I love when I coach people is, you know, especially people that may not love their jobs, for instance, or thinking about what to do for a career. I think property is one of the best ways to really sort of create wealth for yourself. You know, I know Elizabeth has done that, you know, she's the co-founder here with me as well. And it's just a way really to sort of snatch your time back, because time is absolutely everything. So another thing I'm passionate about is tinnitus. So I've been a tinnitus sufferer now for, God, since I was 15. So it's years and years and years. For those who don't know, it's ringing in the ears. And again, I'm going to tie that into why that's so important when you experience pain, how that can be very, very powerful. So I love going out and making a difference. I've probably spoke to about 200 million people, I'd probably say, worldwide around tinnitus. So this is a little bit of me on TV talking about tinnitus. I want to explain a bit of my mindset as well.
In 2000, Trey Lowe scored a top 10 hit with his group Architects, but years in nightclubs and at gigs have damaged his hearing.
Imagine if this is what you could hear all day, every day. That's what it sounds like to have severe tinnitus.
So tinnitus is what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Probably affects 6 million people in the UK.
Let's talk to Trey Lowe, who has the condition.
Okay.
Trey, how would you describe the ringing in your ears?
So my ringing is just, I'd probably describe it like a sea of noise. And then being a musician and being a DJ over the years, it just got louder and louder and louder.
And that's because of the environment you're working in, you weren't protecting your ears enough from it. Trey, I mean, how on earth do you cope with that on a day-to-day? Because if someone who doesn't have tinnitus, and I've experienced it when I've been at gigs or whatever, it wears off. The idea is it would just be incredibly distracting all the time.
I mean, it isn't. I'm generally a really happy soul. I work out, I eat well. So the suffering only comes from what you make it mean. And I don't make it mean anything.
So that's really, really key. Suffering comes from what you make it mean. And I'm going to go into depth about that. So I'm very passionate about mindset and how you leverage things, how you leverage, you know, things like now what we've dealt with. You know, this year, 2020, has been a particularly hard year. And it's definitely something that's going to impact young black boys who already, you know, unemployment figures, you know, they were high in that. You know, it was a big thing for, you know, black guys to not be in employment, whereas other people were, you know, and the challenges that people face, you know, the stabbings that have happened. So I'm going to start to share about how suffering actually is a very much a source of power. So let me carry on. So here's my company, CLIQUE. And again, this is all about mindset and how to be powerful regardless. My whole reason for being right now is that people get present to their greatness now, like right now. Not like a someday soon conversation, but right now. So I want to go into a bit of my background. And this is our thing, this is our motto. We believe that all of us have talents, creativity, and entrepreneurship within us, but few of us get to truly unleash that power. Alpha Clique's vision is that we unleash all of that greatness and be all we can be and pass the torch on to the next generation. So my background, here's me. Grew up in Notting Hill, which back then was one of the poorest parts of London. You know, I was the youngest of 6 kids in a Nigerian family. You know, I did well at school, like a lot of other young black boys, but the minute I got to secondary school, that all changed. I became this class joker. It was almost like it wasn't cool for me to carry on being this, you know, this guy that grew up in this strict Nigerian household where education was literally beaten into you. I had a love of encyclopedias, and for young people listening, they may not know what encyclopedias are. That's literally Google. Encyclopedias was literally Google for me. It was these big volumes of read books that I would devour, and I loved it. And one thing I got from the encyclopedias that really, you know, shaped my life was there was no one in those books that looked like me. There were inventors, painters, artists, all sorts of people, but no one looked like me. And that's one thing that really instilled in me a sense of purpose. I want to be in that book one day. So fast forward from literally in that age back to secondary school, got to secondary school, decided to kind of like be the class joker. All of that knowledge education I put to one side because it wasn't cool. Then age 15, I have an appendicitis, had an appendectomy in hospital, and I was given an overdose of a drug. That drug caused me to go paralyzed. It paralyzed me basically twice in succession. Now, they gave me an antidote that came out of the paralysis, that had me come out of the paralysis. But when I came out, my world literally had changed in that moment. So suddenly I had this ringing in the ears. I had no idea what it was. Nobody else could hear it. My mom, my dad, the doctors, nobody could hear it. The world just looked weird. It's like it was like suddenly like I was in a dream or something. I had no idea what it was. And then I had this really strange head pressure sensation in me. Now that then had me get even more angry, really. I became quite an angry guy. You know, I became a bit of a street kid running around with, you know, getting up to no good to a certain extent. You know, I saw people getting arrested. I'd been thrown in a bloody cell more than once. You know, I had friends that died and all sorts of stuff. And I really had this kind of idea of it doesn't really matter so much. But there was always that little part of me, that little sense of purpose of when I read the encyclopedias of really wanting to make a difference. So that carried on. And then eventually I went to university. All the time, my health was getting worse and worse and worse. Been to every doctor around the world, literally. Nothing made a difference. Then age 25, you know, we had the success with Body Group. And that time of my life was like the highest of highs. I mean, signed a recording contract, you know. We had an EMI publishing contract where I was pitching on the same stairs as the Beatles, who were one of my heroes at that time. Yet one day after, say, being on top of the pops, I would be having my 5th or 6th or 7th brain scan. And that was like literally my life that whole time. But one thing that was always there for me was I was always aware of my choices. So I'll tell you a little bit of a story about that. So when we were doing Body Groove at the time, you know, a lot of people were having success with garage and making money. But when I made money with my brother who was in the band with me, I decided to invest in property because how I grew up with my dad is that's what he had done. I'm going to share a bit of his story later. So I was always very mindful of A, purpose, you know, my role in this world, but B, choices. So even I was going through probably, I would not wish what I went through with my health and my worst enemy. It was horrendous, but I was always aware of those choices I could make inside of all of that stuff of what I was dealing with. So I invested in property, and then eventually I'd done a lot of self-development work. And then fast forward, I just started to shift all of that, like completely shift it. And that brings me back to this question, what Adi has posed, how to be powerful in challenging times. So what I developed from all of those years and everything I'd been through, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, to dealing with health stuff, to being on road, my brother was stabbed, another brother was stabbed, someone tried to jump and slice me in my face, went to a party, a yardie tried to shoot me, like all of this stuff that I'd got through got me to this place where I developed a model, and that's what I teach people. And this model is called the P.O.W.E.R model. I'm going to explain it. Purpose, others, wellness, effort, responsibility. Adi, I'm just checking. Can you see this?
Loud, yeah, clearly.
Okay, cool, perfect. I'm going to do it like this, 5 pillars of power. So you want to, I look at it like literally it's what holds you up. In order to live that alpha life, that powerful life, these are those 5 pillars. Purpose. others. Wellness. I mean, for me, wellness has been so key in my life, which is right now, you know, I'm really strict about not eating meat. And for, you know, anyone listening, that wellness, that core, that mind, body, that soul, having that pillar really being powerful, it's so fundamental to have everything else work. Effort, because without effort and action, nothing works. And then the last one, responsibility. I'm going to focus on a few of these for the purpose of this talk. Purpose. So for me, you know, the one way to be powerful in these challenging times is really to have a really powerful, really clear purpose, a clear vision, clear goals. Now, my first purpose or original vision was I wanted to be on top of the pops. You know, I wanted to be this musician that was known and eventually get myself into those red encyclopedias that I'd read. So no matter what I was dealing with, that purpose, that clarity, that vision allowed me to get through it all, even through the darkest time with my health. And I literally lived life like, if my health gets bad, I'll jump off a building. That literally was my life. If it gets so bad, I'm going to hop off a building, I'm done. But there was that sense of purpose that kept me going. And it's really powerful for those people listening that you start to really cultivate a real powerful purpose, a powerful vision, you know, a set of goals. And one way to get clarity around that is start to look at your values. What are the things you value? So for instance, one thing that I value is freedom, you know, which is why I then became an entrepreneur, because I wanted to be in control of my time and my future. You know, something else that's important to me is giving back, you know, really making a difference. So my purpose and my vision is completely congruent with those things. You know, who I am is that people get to be their greatest self and they get to do it now. So that's the first thing really to look at in your life. What's your purpose? And it might be more than one, but you want to get clarity around that, right? Oprah said, create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life because you become what you believe. And that's so true. I mean, I think a lot of people will create something that's kind of small and maybe doable. You know, I remember when we used to say to people I wanted to be on top of the pops, it was kind of like absurd. You know, back then, garage as a genre was probably the first time when we had this DIY musician ethic where we could do a lot of it ourselves. We didn't need labels. We didn't need studios and all that sort of stuff. It's stuff that we could do for ourselves. So for me, it became like, of course I can do it. That was just my vision. It wasn't grand. And I had friends around me that were like, there's no way you're going to do that. Even when we had our very first record, which was a song called The Boy Is Mine, my best friend said to me, you're never ever going to top that, ever. And 2 years later, we did Bodyproof and it topped it. So one thing I say is create the biggest, grandest vision, even if it seems absurd. And I think for many in our community, we kind of play safe. It's always like, how can I kind of stay safe, play it safe, kind of keep it small or manageable? Or maybe there's a concern of what other people might think. You know, are people going to laugh at me? I say no, to hell with that. Create the grandest, biggest vision you can. And a quote that I love is a quote from this guy, George Bernard Shaw. And he says, I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I've got hold of for a moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. And that brings me to another thing that I'm passionate about, what I share with people, and it's this image. I didn't want to throw a question to people like, when people see this, huh? Yeah, but when you see it, or you're watching, because I can't see the screen anymore, what do people see when they see that? Let me know if anyone comes through.
Yeah, so Trey's question is, when you see this picture of this toothpaste rolled up, what do you think when you see that? So you can put it into the chat, feel free. So when you see this toothpaste, what do you see when you see that?
Yeah, when you see this rolled up toothpaste. And it's funny, every time I show people are like, rolled up toothpaste? It's just, what does that hell? What does that mean?
What do you mean?
I'm going to quickly crack on because I can't see your screen.
I'll say someone. Melina said emptiness. Bernard said unsatisfying. Roland said used up.
I like that, used up. Used up.
Said waste.
Who said that?
Used up was Simon. Simon said used up.
Love that.
Hold on. So someone else. My mate Mike said used up. Yeah, used up is coming up quite a bit.
Do you know what? I love people that watch.
My mate Mike said finished purpose. Let me put this up so you can see it.
I can't because I can't necessarily see the screen. I'm watching a delayed version on YouTube. I can't see it. I'm going to carry on just so the delayed version is about 20 seconds behind. So anyone that grew up poor like me, and God, we grew up poor. I mean, there was like literally a rat that lived in my kitchen for at least 5 years. It was better fed than I was. We should have charged it rent, to be honest, considering we're all bloody landlords. So one thing that we would do is literally roll up toothpaste, like roll it up to within an inch of its life. We'll scrape it out, and sometimes we'll even get the scissors out and cut it. And the reason why I use this analogy when I coach and I mentor people is this: how many people live their life like that? Imagine we'll take toothpaste and we'll roll it up and squeeze every little bit of it out. But when people live life, people don't. There's always saving something for later. You know, very few people live life where every ounce of talent, every ability, every bit of anything that they can give to this world is thoroughly used up. And I'm glad that people use that phrase, used up, where there is literally nothing left for you to give. I mean, Adi, you know this stat as well. You know, most people, when they get to the end of their life, they don't regret what they did. They regret what they didn't do. That's the regret people have, what they didn't do. And I meet so many people, and myself included, you know, going back in my past, of worried about what people are going to think, or social media, or can I post this, or should I start that business, or there's a recession, or there's this, my gender, my color, my race, my background, my this. But very few people think, you know, to hell with it. I'm going to be so thoroughly used up that I'm not even going to look back and think there was something left to give. I'm going to pass that torch to the next generation, and I don't care. But yet we'll get a humble little bit of toothpaste and we'll squeeze out every little bit of it. Do you know, and Ada, you always say that when you talk about going for walks in graveyards. Graveyards are some of the richest places on planet Earth. Why? Because that's the places where all those dreams, all that ability, all that vision, all that purpose, all of that potential is locked up in those graveyards, because people never really went full out. They never created a life that was thoroughly used up, or they allowed circumstances. Say again, yeah, they play small, right? But see, it is risky to squeeze out everything. I mean, someone like a Mandela took a risk. You know, someone like Jesus took a risk and paid the price with his life, right? Sometimes it does come with a risk. But that kind of life where you're thoroughly used up and there is nothing left to give is a pathway to fulfillment. A lot of people think riches are a pathway to fulfillment, and they're not. I know a lot of millionaires and billionaires who are some of the saddest people. I would not swap for a lot of those people. But the people who live lives where they're thoroughly used up and they're rolled up, squeezed every bit out of it, those are some of the most fulfilled people you'd ever meet, especially when all of that talent, everything they had to give was done in service of others. I truly believe being of service to others is the key not only to fulfillment, but the key to really create a world that works. You know, so especially for young black boys growing up, that's why I do this. That's why I mentor. That's why I talk. That's why I go into schools. That's why I go on TV and talk about tinnitus. My thing is to have people present to their greatness, so they're thoroughly used up, and they do it now, and they pass that torch on to the next generation. So every time, I think no one here watching this now, next time they go to brush their teeth in the morning, they're going to be thinking about that rolled up bit of toothpaste. Good. That's why I use it, because we touch this item every single day. Unless there's someone out there that doesn't brush their teeth. That's a different story. Now, another thing that's really, really key is others. And when I say others, is actually a big subject, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to keep it as this. You know, many people try and go it alone, right? And especially for young black boys watching, or, you know, their parents watching, for instance, in our community, it never seems that there is kind of like this resource or this place to go to really have your dreams and really, you know, work for you. You know, I look at stuff that I learned in school, and I love history, so I'm not dissing necessarily a lot of the curriculum, but Henry VIII or 1066, William the Conqueror, World War, this stuff, that's not teaching me how to manage money. That's not teaching me how to manage my time. That's not teaching me how to maximize my dreams. In fact, I don't think they even think about children's dreams, certainly not when I was young. You know, that was something that I got from mentors and from coaches. Now, one of my biggest mentors, which I was really lucky about, was actually my father. Adi, I just want to quickly share my dad's story.
Yeah, go for it.
My dad, obviously we're Nigerian. He grew up in a small village in Nigeria. There were 8 of them. 7 of his siblings died, one after the other. Brother, sister, brother. After the other, they all died. And the only reason why my dad survived is he was taken from that village to a neighboring village. Now, in this neighboring village, you know, obviously back those days, this is 1950s, he was an extra pair of hands. So he would have to go into the, you know, forest and, you know, collect firewood, as they would call it. And when he eventually managed to get himself to school, which they did not want him to go to school, he eventually went to school, he would come out. And those days in the 50s, you get the occasional plane that would fly over the village. And he would come out and say, one day I'm going to be on the white man's plane. I'm going to go to London. I'm going to be rich. and the kids would laugh at him and they would beat him. Who do you think you are? Look at you, small boy. Come on. And they beat him. And even the teachers would join in. But what he kept going for himself was that purpose. And that's why it's so key. This little small boy who grew up without his mum and his dad, and all of his siblings died, had that one dream, and that was to go to London and make it and be rich. So he made it from his village to Lagos, capital of Nigeria. From Lagos, he made it to London. From London, he ended up in Notting Hill, which is a ghetto. So his story wasn't going too well. I mean, you get all the way to London, you want to be rich, you end up in a ghetto, and you're thinking, damn. But what my dad had was still this sense of, I'm still going to have that dream. I'm going to have it happen for me, no matter what. So a lot of his friends at the time were getting free housing as it was happening, back then in the 50s and 60s. And they were saying to him, come on, Tony, what are you doing? We're all getting houses. Why are you looking at this house of yours? Because we lived, back then, and we still do, lived in a big house. But back then, Labra Grove, Notting Hill was run down. If anyone knows that, the history of Notting Hill. It was so run down that there was a very notorious landlord. I can't remember what his name was called now. But he was so notorious that the actual laws changed around renting. So you can imagine a situation that my mum and dad were in, bringing up 6 children. But his dream was alive, and he bought that house. And he bought that house for probably about 15 grand. And if anyone knows about Notting Hill now, we're talking about a 4-story semi-detached property in the heart of Notting Hill. What kept that little child from a small village in Africa going was that real sense of purpose. And what he gave me was a sense of having a real mentor that made it. So though people laughed at me and my brother when we had success with Body Group and we bought silly little Volkswagen Golf, yeah, it wasn't an embarrassing car. I mean, my car was red. But what I thought about at the time was, I actually want to invest my money in things that appreciate rather than invest my money in things that depreciate. And I think one thing that's kind of quite big in our community, and I call it a magpie culture, there's this real love of shiny things. People around me back those then were buying gold. And same way when I was running around with the road use, it was the same thing. Gold, jewelry, women, raving and all that sort of stuff. But because I had that level of mentorship from my dad and my mum, really, my thing was, if you give me money, I'm going to invest it. It just becomes second nature. I'm going to buy a bad little car at the time. I'm going to invest in it. Everyone's laughing and thinking, yeah, but you guys are number one. You sold 500,000 records. Why would you do that? But again, it goes back to that purpose, and it goes back to the mentorship. So for any young black boys watching this, or their parents, it's so important to have mentors, people like myself, someone like Ade. There's a guy that you had speaking on yesterday, was speaking about elephants and herds, who I loved what he was talking about. And he created an academy. What was his name? Was it Michael or something, Ade?
It was Andrew.
And oh my God, like that for me is everything for me. I think as black men, that's our responsibility to be mentors and coaches for the next community. So for young black boys out there are so many people, mentors and coaches that are out there willing you to win. It's so important that you leverage other people, because too many people try and go it alone, or too many people give up on their dreams because they feel like, well, how can I do it? How can I get there? I don't know. Or they're in an environment, and this is quite key, they're in an environment where everyone's a naysayer. It can't be done. It's impossible. Or maybe you might buy one property, for instance, if you go down the property route, rather than thinking, I'm going to own 1,000. Having a mentor and a coach is one way to have your dream and your vision actually come to fruition. It's so key, and I can't stress that enough. And I'm grateful that I had that kind of education behind me and that kind of mentorship with my dad, and eventually, with the self-development that both me and Ade have done, to have people holding me to account and holding me to my greatness. There's no excuses. There's no excuses whatsoever. People are holding me to my greatness. Trey, what did you say you were going to do? How's it going? There's no, it's not possible. Maybe you should quit. No. How's it going? What do you need? What resources do you need? And that brings me on to my next point, which is responsibility. And this is pillar number 5.
We've got 4 minutes left for this part.
Okay, so you get me on that, knowing how much I talk, right? Responsibility. I'm going to try and whiz through this really, really quickly, because I get so passionate about this. I could literally talk for days and days. So normally when I show up responsibility, I ask people what they see when they see responsibility. But in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. Normally when people see the word responsibility, they think burden. I've got to be responsible for something. Oh, I don't want to take something on. But when I say responsibility, I mean ownership. And I mean own everything, every aspect of your life. So mindset, I'll talk about that real quickly. Developing that powerful alpha mindset takes being responsible with it. Because even for someone like me, as passionate as I am about making a difference, I'm one of the biggest procrastinators I've ever met. And it's that taking responsibility for that procrastination, taking responsibility that, you know, things that I'm up to actually make it out to the world. It's that mindset. It's taking action, because you can talk all you want, but without the action, forget about it. Nothing happens. And it happens a lot in our community where, I believe there's so much talent in the Black community, but there's a failure in the action, in the follow through, you know. And I love now what you're doing, Ade, and what I do, and a lot of people are doing now. We're creating these groups of people to make sure that people are not going to fail. You know, in this time to Black Lives Matter, what can we do to have people win, to be in action? You know, who are you going to be in the first of adversity, for instance? One thing I hate is pity parties. You know, I sit here in front of you, probably look healthy and well, but only last year I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which has now come back. Then they're telling me that I've got pre-diabetes, on top of the tinnitus I've got, on top of the derealization, which is the dream feeling that I talked about earlier. And they are debilitating, and I wouldn't wish what goes on inside my body on anyone else, but I take ownership for it. Where's a pity party going to take me? You know, it's going to take me nowhere. How do I relate to failure? Okay, great. I'm going to own that failure. Entrepreneurship, inherently in being an entrepreneur, there's going to be failure. There's going to be all sorts of challenges. But who are you in the face of those things? You know, taking ownership for that. Your health, your habits, what do you do every single day? And then things like being vulnerable, you know, sharing with people, you know, being authentic with people. I'm not going to do this, you know, think if I've got it all handled. No, sometimes you need help. So for people listening, never be afraid to be vulnerable, you know, to reach out and get help. Never be afraid to be authentic. If you're struggling, go out and get help. You know, responsibility is a very powerful thing where you own every single aspect of your life, both the good and the bad. And I say it again, one thing I noticed with a lot of our culture, I really truly do believe that being an entrepreneur is a pathway to really creating freedom for a lot of Black people. So for a lot of young Black boys watching this, for instance, the same thing I said, you know, Skepta, I love what he said. I used to wear Gucci, I put it all in the bin because that's not me. I'm now seeing a lot of young Black boys investing in property, investing in their future, and I love that. And for someone listening, that's the key, to take ownership of your life. You know, even if you don't go down an entrepreneurial route, you might go into, you know, a profession, for instance, but it's watching at where you're putting your money, for instance. I'm very passionate, and I know we don't have time, Ade, but the money thing is big for our community. People get rich, but people don't think about being wealthy. A rich normally is a one generation thing. Wealth is something that you pass on to the generations. You're looking at trust funds, you're looking at wealth management. That's another thing that's really key. And I'm just going to share a few other young people that I think are really people to watch, and people are really picking it.
It's
AJ Tracy. Say again, Adam?
Yeah. So the time's up. But like another, can you do this in like in a minute, couple of minutes?
Yeah, a couple of minutes. So like some of AJ Tracy talked about sacrificing, and again, for a lot of young people, it might be easier to be on FIFA or do something else, but that sacrifice is very key. And again, it's about being responsible for your time. Nipsey, you know, obviously he's not with us anymore. Again, a young entrepreneur who was very, very keen in ownership. And again, Kanye, I mean, people don't realize that Kanye is now the wealthiest rapper in the world. I think he's worth 3.5 billion, anything between 2 billion and 3.5. Why? He created ownership for himself, you know? Load the TV down. So again, I'm going to quickly whiz for this, Ade. Pain. One thing to do in life, I believe, is to leverage your pain. So I've experienced a lot of pain in my life, and I always try and leverage that no matter what. In fact, I say without going through pain, things can get hard. Use your pain. Whatever you've been through, use it, you know? Because we can't choose what life throws at us. That's just life, right? However, we can choose who we are in the face of that. You know, I was going to end it with this, Ade. So this is my brother, who's one after the architects, and he died this year, sadly, in February. February's probably been one of the toughest years of my life, bar none. But rather than wallow in that and deal with that pain, I use that pain as juice to fuel me. I'm creating the most amazing foundation in his name and music in his name. Bear in mind, I wasn't even making music before because of tinnitus, but the pain of my brother's death is just literally pushed me on to go to the next level. You know, and the same thing I asked the question to everyone watching is George Floyd. How are we going to use his death to really take us to the next level? And one of the ways to do that is to be responsible. I just want to leave you with a quote. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived, it's what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. How to be powerful in challenging times. Purpose, leveraging other people, mentorship, and being responsible for every single aspect of your life, the good and the bad. Simple.
Brilliant.
1,000. Thank you.
Just because I do want us to stick to something, that's brilliant. What I'll do is you'll come back later on for the panel session, and I love the things you said in more detail, because you dropped some really powerful things there.
Absolutely.
And just to digest and think about the things that Trey's just said. We're bringing our next speaker on right now. But just think about what Trey said, and also consider what Elaine Cunningham Walker is also about to say. So Elaine's just joining us. So Trey, thanks a lot. That was awesome. So I'm going to remove you right now, and then we'll definitely have you back later on.
Excellent. Catch you later.
See you later. So just bringing Elaine on. She does some incredible work. So this is Elaine Cunningham Walker. Hi there, Elaine. And she does things that, like, her story is very interesting, and the journey that she's been on. And you see, very similar to Trey, that her story is definitely one of responsibility and of ownership and of taking things on. And yeah, I'll let her talk about it. I'll let her go into detail. So the title that we have for this section is Educating and Empowering Your Children During Challenging Times. So Elaine, over to you.
Hiya. Hi, Ade. Thank you so much for having me on. I really am excited about this whole 1,000 Black Boys movement. Can I share my screen, or do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You share your screen with me.
Okay. Share screen. Okay. Right. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me okay?
I've added your screen to the main thing. Yep.
Good. So as I can go through it as I want, or do I need to direct you to do that?
No, you go for it. So literally, you go for it. Bring out the salient points, and I'll provide guidance where I think it's needed. Or if I want to anchor something, I'll be like, hey, can you repeat that, or can you go into that in more detail?
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So I think that we're in a period where we need to educate and empower our children during challenging times. Obviously, a lot of parents have been on lockdown and they've had their children at home, and it's been really, really difficult to try and steer through these challenging times that we're having at the moment. We've got two viruses. We've got the virus of COVID-19. We've also got the virus of racism. Somebody said we've got the virus COVID-19 and the virus COVID-16-19, which I thought was really, really, really interesting. So let me just tell you about who I am. Now, I am, hold on, I'm not moving. Yep. I'm an award-winning, Forbes-featured educational digital strategist that believes in transformation of a nation is a result of education. I have been featured in lots of publications and media and have a real passion for education and believe that this really transforms the destination of any child and a family, and opportunities are key. Now, these are some of the publications that I've been featured in. And I've been featured in them because I believe in my brand, and I believe that education is the key to our nation. So we're sitting there and we're shouting, oh, you know, we want Black power, and that's really, really good. But at what level have we upgraded ourselves, upskilled ourselves, and how can we give that to our children?
Elaine, can I just ask as well, can you make it full screen so it all fits the screen?
Okay, hold on a second. Full screen. How do I do that?
Or presentation mode. It would be at the bottom. There's the one that looks almost like a
Right, you have the copy of the presentation, right?
I do, but not on email, not on so.
Okay, hold on. Let me just come out of here. Right. So tell me again. Sorry. Share screen.
Yeah. So if you share a screen,
should be at the bottom.
It's just loading up.
Okay. So don't share it to everybody till we've got it right. For some reason, the screen is not coming up now. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, this is the right one. Right. Got it.
Okay.
So how do you want me to do it? View.
Yeah, so we're being coached. Apparently, if you press F5, F5 will do it.
F5 is not coming up as that. It's coming up as my Spotify account. So
Okay. Okay.
hold on. Let me try it like this. No. Oh, good God. Normal. Okay. I think I have to do it as a slide presentation. I've completely forgotten how to do that. Because I usually have a hang on, I know, slideshow. See if that is that better.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Okay, brilliant.
And everyone that was online, thank you very much for your coaching and your advice. We did it. Amazing.
So, have you shared that out?
Yeah, everyone can see it.
Okay. So these are the brands that I have built since I discovered and understood, not just discovered, but understood that it's really important to take hold of your destiny and your future. And so in the last 3 years, I have set up a global educational consultancy called Everything's Education. Meet the Heads, which is where I bring heads from all over the world, meeting with parents of Black and ethnic minority descent, for them to have opportunities in private schools. And Elite Mums Network is the Mums Net of Africa. So I started that. Finding Me is a coaching program that I have. And Real Talk is a platform for people to talk really frankly and honestly about what they think. And of course, there's the Elaine Cunningham Walker brand. So one question parents can ask is, how can I empower my children? So we know that Nelson Mandela told us that the way to empower a nation, the way to empower is to educate a child. So education is a way to empower your children. There are many strains of education. And what we have to understand is that education is not just about academic education. It's a question of strategy. Now we have education. We've always understood that it was all about academia. You know, where do I go to school? What subjects do I do? What career path do I take? But actually, it's more a case of strategy. You ask yourself what the end goal is, and then you work backwards. So many parents believe that the education that gives opportunities are not for them. Why do we believe that? We think that there's too many white people there. We think that we won't fit in. Now, that's a complete fallacy. What I help to do is to open up the fact that actually you belong here. You are talented. You are gifted. This is where you belong. So I have relationships with boarding schools, over 300 boarding schools and independent schools in this country and in the USA and in Canada. So I begin to open up those, but their problem is that many people who look like us are scared of applying to their institutions. Yet we've got children who are just as bright, just as amazing, that can get there. And this is why we have a problem, why less and less people are applying to Oxford, because they believe that they don't fit in there or they can't get there. For me, I always believe, and I always tell my children, that the more people tell you no, that's when you get a yes out of them. You see, we can't sit there and complain that there are no Black people in positions of power. The reason that they are not is because they didn't go to the right schools and they don't have the right networks, they don't have the right friends. It's easier for you to become friends with somebody in your state than to go out and look for somebody who can actually make a difference to your environment. So if you look at, there's a guy I think called Reggie Nelson who couldn't understand why all these positions of power were taken up by particular demographics. So he took a tube, and went to central London and started knocking on houses in Mayfair and in Knightsbridge and in Sloane Square and asking people how they managed to get that kind of property. He finally got somebody who believed in him, gave him an opportunity at BlackRock. He'd knocked on the door of the CEO of BlackRock and he decided to mentor him. And now, if you Google Reggie Nelson, he's huge in the insurance industry. So for me, my main thing is to get our children into the right schools. We need to get them into the right universities, and we need to get them to have the right mentors. We need to change the narrative, and we have to do something different. For me personally, I find that it's not just about mentoring the children, it's also about mentoring parents and guiding them and helping them navigate through the system of education. What the school might tell you is not ultimately what's best for your child. So you have to know what's best for your child and navigate through that system effectively. And that's where I come in. So are there any questions at this point?
So hi there, guys. For those of you that are in the chat, put through your questions. Elaine has put some very powerful, interesting, useful things there. What questions have you got? So she's available. She's one of the top education strategists globally. So what questions have you got? So Elaine, while the questions are coming through, what I think is really great about what you do is you essentially support Black parents to get their children to the top schools in the country and globally.
Yeah, absolutely. And the universities. So we work with the Russell Group universities and the Ivy Group universities. So for anybody who's not sure of what Russell Group universities are, they're a group of universities that actually produce leaders, thought leaders in the world. And also the same is for the Ivy League, and the Ivy League institutions are based in the USA.
Okay, and you help. And one of the things you said as well is, for many of the people that are in positions of power in the UK and globally, they make the contacts from their schools and contacts from the universities. Say more about that.
They do make contacts. I was listening to my son had an end of term. My son had an end of term speech day today. It was virtual, and there was one of the housemasters was leaving. He'd been there for so many years, and he was talking about the fact that the godparents of his children were schoolmates from that time that he was at that particular school. And so it goes to show that a lot of people around the cabinet office now are there because of networks, there because of schools that they went to. And I think it's really, really important. And that's what makes a difference. Because, for example, my son is in the same class as Gary Barlow's son. So because he goes to that type of school. I had my sons were at another school where my youngest son was in the same class as the CEO of HSBC Japan son. So it really does make a difference. Gosh, there's so many questions coming. How would I need to move house to get my child into private school? No, Elizabeth, you do not. That's the beauty of a private school, that you can live anywhere. But one question I will ask you is, what are the practicalities of you getting to that school, number one? And maybe you have to look at a boarding school option if you live quite far away. Joan says, how do I choose the right school? Well, the right school is dependent on your child. And I think that I like to choose schools according to the strengths of the child, not the other way around. So you get a group of parents that come up to you and they have a long list of schools they want. Eton, Harrow, blah, blah, blah. And you look at their child and you're like, this child would not thrive in that school. And for me, it's really important for children to thrive, because when you thrive, you grow in excellence, you grow in power, and you grow in passion. And that's what we're trying to grow. And that's what we're trying to do.
From Christian Page. What do you think is a bigger problem? Black people not empowering themselves, or racism holding Black people back?
Racism in what sense of the word? I suffered racism, but I never allowed it to hold me back. So I think it's both. The thing is, but you only allow racism to hold you back if you want to acknowledge it. You can acknowledge it, but you need to shut it down. You need to put it in its right packaging. Example, racism can show itself in all kinds of things, microaggressions, but it's really important to educate the person who's exhibiting that level of ignorance and teach them the right way. That's what you need to do. Racism is a mindset. Not empowering yourself is also a mindset by Black people, and not knowing how to get to. So I think that the issues are synonymous to each other, but you have to decide what you want to achieve as an individual, as a family, and make that happen for you.
Totally. And just after that as well, so just to answer the question, so racism is there. Don't let it stop you. Challenges come. And when somebody does demonstrate that, you hold them to account. You pull them up on it. But you don't let it disempower you. You can address it without being disempowered. You can address it in a really powerful way that lifts you up and demonstrate your power and your greatness. I think it's important to have that be clear for all of us.
Yeah, somebody said, can you help with scholarships for business school and masters? Yes, I can. You'd have to go to my website, everythingseducation.com or ElaineCunninghamWalker.com, and you can get some information from there. If you send us an email, we can help you. But it depends on which business school you're referring to or which type of masters. Masters, you don't tend to get scholarships unless you're doing a master's that's been supported by a company. Business school, you do, especially if you're female, you do get some scholarships. But yes, please, that's quite a bespoke type thing. So yes, send that through to my website. By looking at yourself, you then know what is and isn't good for you. Yes, I suppose so. Well, you can and will to what extent. Do you think there is a problem if your child is the only black child there? No, not at all. I don't think your child is a problem if your child is the only black child there. I think that if you're the only black child there, what you can do is you can educate people. Number one, my son has been in a school where he's the only black boy of color. The only black boy of color in the whole school, and actually he's a novelty, and I love that. And they want to know more about your culture and more about you, and they're actually very embracive of that. And what I find is that there are a lot of private schools at the moment, fee-paying schools, that are looking for more diversity, but yet what stops us is we look at the fees and we think, I can't afford it, I don't want to go, but we'd rather spend money on the latest Bugatti, Ferrari, whatever, than to invest in the lives of our children. I'll just park that right there. As the parent, somebody's put, how do you empower your child to strive and always be the best at such a young age when he sees his white friends not applying themselves? Well, the thing is, I think the application comes from the home. You need to empower him. You need to motivate him. And so when he goes to school, the white people are actually motivated by his ability to want to do so well. They are motivated by that. And you know what? When it comes to prizes being awarded, he's going to get a prize. Yeah, I educated two of my children privately. One of them is now in a senior position at Oxford University. Exactly. Carol Wilson. Author, person. Exactly. I think that private school gives you the edge and the grit. So many of us talk about grit. Grit is so important. Grit is one of those things that it either tells you whether you're going to pass or fail. You keep going. Resilience and grit are the two things that we've talked about. We talked about resilience a lot, but grit is one of the things that helps you keep going, that you just, regardless of what life tends to throw at you, just keep going. You just keep going. You know you're going to win. Any more questions? Someone says, do you help with primary school selection? Yes, I do help with primary school selection, Christian Page, but it so depends on what type of child you have. For example, if I said to a black person, do you know what prep school is? 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't. So when I explained to people that my children were finishing primary school at 13, they thought I was strange, but actually that's a prep school, and it prepares you for the second wave of life, as it were. So senior school. So yes, I do help, and you can go to my website once again, and you can get information from there, and you can get in touch with me and take it from there. Yes, Precious, needs and wants. Now that takes me back to bursaries and scholarships. So often there are opportunities for those of us who might not be financially endowed to be able to get to these schools. You can have a bursary. You can apply for a bursary, which is a means tested award that is given to you by the school, which allows you to go to the school, paying a significantly lower amount of fees, that you would normally do. And I think this is really, really important, So the thing is that during this time of lockdown, you can tell, and the Bible tells us about the wheat from the chaff, you can tell the difference in that what has been offered in terms of online support has not been there in some state schools, but in private schools, I can tell you that my son has been there for registration. He's had a full school day online. And so a lot of parents don't know that there are other things that we can use to supplement our children's learning. Khan Academy is there, BBC Bite Size is there. There are certain apps that we can use as well to help our children revise. It's so important. But the lack of knowing this, that's why there is in the book of Hosea, I think it says in the Bible that my people perish for lack of knowledge. Yes, we do help with special needs for Elizabeth. My people perish for lack of knowledge. And it's because of this lack of knowledge that I find that certain decisions and certain choices are being made by certain Black boys. And unfortunately, they end up going down a route that is not very, very good for them. And this is why myself in particular, I am very, very passionate about this. A mother of 2 Black boys who were 2 of the top 20 brightest children in the country, featured in lots of different publications, featured on Child Genius Channel 4. I made a decision that when my husband walked out on our relationship, that they would not become a statistic. I actively went out there and made sure that they wouldn't do it. Obviously, I am a product of a private school education, having going 2 degrees from 2 very good Russell Group universities. I wanted to make sure that my children could walk in those same footsteps, and without having to deal with a narrative that says that this is where Black boys go through.
Elaine, you're doing great. There's a question that's been asked by Rachel Wilkins. Are you able to offer advice there? Her question is, I'll post it. Her question is, as a white woman raising brown boys, what tips can you give me to support them developing their own identity?
You're a white lady raising, when you say brown boys, what ethnicity are they?
Rachel, if you can respond to that. But yeah, just something
developing their own identity. I think it's really important to read up about where they are originally from and explain that to them and give that to them. And I think it's very important for you to embrace that identity. If you just hold on a second, I can't hear you for some reason.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, the sound is back now.
Okay.
So as a white woman raising brown boys, I think what you need to do is you need to discover where they're from originally, and you need to start talking about that with them. And it's really important to have that around them. They have got the best of both worlds. They've got a white mother raising boys who are a different color from her, and there's nothing wrong with that. Looking at me, you wouldn't know that I have Dutch Portuguese in my family. You wouldn't know that. So I think it's really, really important for you to find out about where they come from originally and to embrace that in your bringing up. I'm not saying you have to be eating every kind of food that they have. That doesn't enthuse identity. I think what enthuses identity is what your family is, and growing that out of it, being a very strong Black person, but also knowing that you have a white side in you that's very strong as well. I think that's really important to get the balance right. I hope that answers your question.
Cool, great, thanks.
But one thing I will say is that when they grow up, they are no longer deemed as, if your boys are brown, I assume they're mixed race, they are no longer deemed as cute. They are deemed as a threat. And so how do we grow from them being cute to them becoming threats, as it were, in society?
And like something that I'd like to talk about as well, because Trey mentioned it also. So you spoke about having to actually invest in developing your boys, and that you didn't spend the money on, please pardon me, Gucci, Fendi, all those things at that time. You said, I'm gonna literally make this choice and this decision. Trey spoke earlier about having done 500,000 records on their album, and you went to go and buy a really, dare I say, low-grade car to go buy property. Could you talk more about the thinking behind that?
I didn't say that I didn't have
I know you didn't buy Benji, so I put that part into it. But I'm just thinking about the things you thought
but
that you
the
want
thing is,
choice
here's
to
the
make them
thing.
better for them.
I decided to invest in them. I looked at
Yeah.
where my priorities were, and my priorities were investing in them. I can buy a car anytime I want. I can buy designer clothes anytime I want. And I am blessed that, you know, I have that at my disposal. They live in a very nice property. They live in a very nice home. But I think what's very important is that we understand what our priorities are, and all of these shiny things that are around us they devalue as time goes on. But education doesn't devalue. It becomes an appreciable asset, you know. And I think that's what we need to start looking at. Now, somebody said that they decided to move away from formal, less academic education. Military, I don't believe that's less formal education. That's another type of education. That's about discipline. And I do have military schools that I work with. And you still have to be quite clever to get into a decent military school. Sandhurst is one. You know, you don't have to be, you can't be, you have to be disciplined, and you have to know what you're doing. These are the simple things in life that I think we have to train our children in. Discipline, going out for things, achievements and goals.
Awesome.
Any more questions?
Someone asked me a question. I'll definitely do this one. Christian Page asked, Ade, where did you find all these wonderful speakers? It's networking. It's absolutely networking. And it's a key thing that Trey's touched on. Elaine's touching on it right now. You literally have to get outside your skin and connect with people. Connect with people that you know are doing things that are amazing and incredible. You have to suspend any kind of inferiority complex, any kind of imposter syndrome, and just connect with people. You'll be so surprised that people are actually really people, and they do want to make a difference just as you do. So I found them from connecting with different people. Elaine and I were part of the same mastermind mentorship group. There's people that I've done courses on self-development with. Trey is my coach, one of my coaches, and I'm also his coach. So I'm a coach that's got 3 coaches and 2 mentors. So that's how it's come about, Christian. I hope that helps.
Somebody, Michael Crawford asked, if children decided to move away from education in favor of something less academic, example, military, how would you support their progression? But my question is, what is less academic? Every type of education is a good type of education. So you could be musically inept, you could be not inept, you could be musically astute, you could be dramatically astute, you could be you could like cookery. But I think whatever you find yourself doing, do it well, do it to the highest level. And I think that's also in the Bible. You know, whatever you find your hands doing, do it well, do it as you're doing it unto God. And that's one thing that we have to teach our children, because we're very much in this whole thing, oh, I can't do it, it's not good for me, let me just move on. We have to build this level of resilience and grit that says that whatever I'm doing at the best of my ability. So Andrew Lloyd Webber, right? Andrew Lloyd Webber, amazing in music. But do we talk about his GCSEs? Do we talk about his A-levels? No. Richard Branson, dyslexic, amazing in music. Do we talk about GCSEs? Do we talk no, whatever he found himself doing, he was doing it well. And this is the challenge, that if we are to be influential in every sphere of society, we have to be doing whatever we're doing, we have to be doing it well.
Thank you for that, Elaine. And Michael, just to touch on this as well, maybe I'll touch on it toward the end. There's a level of transformative learning. So when you ask the question, moving away in favor of something less academic, so Elaine did pick it up, like less academic in what sense? What they could be following could essentially be what they're designed for, and they could be world-class at that. So my personal example, I'm somebody, I was asked by my parents to take on either being an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer. My parents are Yoruba, they're Nigerian. In the end, I went down the sales route and became very successful in that field. It's all about your child taking on the learning that develops them. And as a parent, not to impose what you think or see on them, but you harness you harness the creativity and the greatness and potential that they carry. Yes, Elaine, this is brilliant. So we've got like another 3 minutes.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to say, you want to leave people with, that you want them to absolutely be clear on?
I think one of the things as parents is to have appropriate expectations for your children. So, for example, when you talk about African parents saying that you can only be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, you have to understand that there are jobs that our children are going to take on that haven't been discovered yet. And so it is important to nurture our children in their gifts, number one. Number two, I think it's very important to keep that child's self-esteem up and build the child's self-esteem, motivating them, encouraging them, and have appropriate boundaries for them as well, for them to understand. And number three, be your child's advocate, be your child's biggest champion. Because, you know, when they understand that you are their biggest champion, nobody can tell them otherwise. And you can look at some of the pointers that I put up on my Forbes article. It's on my Instagram page. You can go in and you can have a read about that. But I think for people to go away, there's the three things. Know that you have to have appropriate expectations, be your child's biggest champion, and support your child. I think that's what I said in everything.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. For everybody out there, so these are Elaine's details. And our goal is also to have all the speakers' details on our website so you can reach out to them. So Elaine does incredible work. That's why I wanted her to speak today. And it's what she does is amazing and will make a difference to a lot of our young people. In this case, Black boys and young Black men. The opportunities are there. Reach out to her organization, and yeah, that's there for you. And Elaine, just big thanks for being on. Yeah, no, thank you. There's been lots of questions, and I'm very certain that you've made a difference to a lot of people that have been asking these questions. I can see the interaction.
Brilliant.
And so now, for those of you who've listened to this or who will listen to this, it's now over to you. It's now over to you to act and to be responsible. So, all the best. But Elaine, thank you very much. I will definitely connect afterwards. But yeah, it's been brilliant having you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. So hi, so we're just going on to our next speakers now. So I hope that was not even hope. I know that was really useful. So Trey spoke, and it's really interesting that Elaine then spoke about things about what to invest in and also about responsibility. So what to invest in and responsibility. There were things that she spoke about consistently, and it's a consistent theme with what Trey said as well. So this is really good. And so just like big thank you to Elaine, big thanks to Trey. So we're now literally moving on to the next part. And we're moving to the next part, and this part does touch on fitness. And before I go to this part, something I really want to anchor, and it's one of the things that I am big on, and it's this. I think was it Charles or Michael asked about development for the child. They're moving on to something. Yeah, Michael Crawford. So moving into something military. There are two types of learning. I want you to know that there's two types of learning and two types of development. One type of learning is informative learning, where we go to school and we get given information. So we get that knowledge. So it's information. We read a book, we get information. We get told about history, we get information. We get told about maths, it's still information. And there's another type of learning, which is transformative learning. Transformative learning is what you develop through discovery. Transformative learning is something that's innate to every human being. Think about how you learn to start walking. As a young child, how did you discover walking? 9 months, 8 months, a year in, however old you were. You discovered it through a process of trial and error. You observed people that just lived as information, and then you made a decision somewhere, a choice, I'd say, somewhere in your head, and you then took your first step, you fell down, okay, you got up again, took another step, and then you fell down, and you took another step, and then you fell down, took another step, and then you fell down, took another step, and then gradually your brain clicked, and now you started to walk. 20, 30 years later, you haven't forgotten how to walk. You wake up in the morning, you don't think, hey, how do I do that walking thing again? I can't quite remember the walking thing. How does it go? You don't do that. It's automatic because it's transformative learning. And the reason why I'm saying that is a lot of the things that will develop our young people will be in the realms of transformative learning. I'm not saying not to go to get information. You should definitely still do that. But the real power is when you're doing things that switch on the other part of your brain and you're discovering things, you're discovering your skills and you're applying your talents. That brings rich rewards. So at this point, I'm going to bring on our next speaker. This is Katrina Thomas. And Katrina Thomas runs an amazing company. And she's got an incredible story. So here she is, adding her to the stream. Hey, Katrina, how you doing?
Hello. Can you hear me this time?
I can hear you loud and clear. It's amazing. Great to have you on. And we're also going to have another speaker come along and join you. This is designed to be a panel session. And so you're on early. Let's go for it. So tell us a bit about yourself and what you do with UDA.
Okay, so I'm Katrina Thomas, as you know, and I have a background in dance and gymnastics coaching. My primary being dance. That's what I've got a degree in and what I've spent most of my career doing. I have now gone on to build a company called UDA, which stands for Be Unique, Dream Big and Stay Ambitious. And what we do is we do mindset and well-being coaching for children and young people through fitness-based activities centered around dance, gymnastics and fencing. And we're trying to encourage the next generation to be positive and more resilient. And we're about building resilient mindsets. So that's what we do.
Brilliant, brilliant. And just tell me, how did it start? What sparked you starting UDA?
Oh, the story. What sparked it? So what sparked it was my son. So I'm a mother of one to a 12-year-old boy, teen. He'll be 13 next month. And he was the purpose behind it. He has fallen into the category of being let down by the UK education system, unfortunately. Well, not the whole system, but I'll just say more public schools. We are based in Southwark, Peckham, mainly. And yeah, that was the start of the journey. He from nursery age, actually, he had struggles. He had challenges in nursery. And then from there, those challenges went on in primary school, and he actually got his first exclusion from school when he was in the reception stage. And then that just went on, and that just became life. And I didn't like the way that school was making him feel. His self-esteem was going down, and I just felt like I needed to do something about it. And myself being a teacher, a freelance teacher in schools, I saw how many children that was happening to, and I didn't like it. I wanted to become a teacher where children spent time with me and they left the space feeling happy and positive. That's what I wanted. I didn't want, I'm going to tell children from time to time, and there's going to be situations where I had to discipline, but at the same time, I wanted to create a space, or whenever they was me, they left feeling positive, because that's what I started to do for my son. I started to make him realize school wasn't the only place to learn about yourself and to develop knowledge. And that's what led me to building UDA.
Amazing. And just one other thing for you as well is why you took personal responsibility, Katrina. So something was happening and it wasn't working. You weren't happy about it, but you didn't stay with just condemning this, and all your energy didn't go towards this is really bad, this is terrible. You might have even had a bit of that, but the main thing I got is you took responsibility. Like you took the bull by the horn and you said, this is how this is going to go. Can you say more about that?
Because he was my child. So as far as I'm concerned, because he's come from me, he's always been my responsibility. So if I felt that he was failing somewhere in some area, that was my responsibility. That wasn't to me the school's responsibility or anyone else's responsibility but mine, because he's my child. And at the end of the day, when we have children, we know they're going to become something in the world, right? And I didn't want my child to become the negative thing in the world. I didn't want him to bring destruction to the world. So when I saw that he was starting to fall into a lifestyle where he was just thinking more negatively about himself, which then made him do more negative things to get him in trouble, I didn't like that, because he was starting to fall into the mindset that they wanted him to have. He was trying to overcome it every day, but then he just started to get tired and they started to take the blame. And then once he started to take the blame, he started into the characteristics that they were putting on him. And I didn't like that, because when my child was at home, that wasn't the type of child that I saw. And I'm, like I said, because I'm a teacher, I also understand that when your child is in a position of being around 30 other children, some of the things that you see with your child at home, you might not see at school, because now he's amongst 30 children. I understood that. But at the same time, I didn't want the things that they were putting on, the characteristics they were trying to put on him to stick. Because we had problems like, I never forget time when he was in primary school and they were studying Henry VIII. And you know the story of Henry VIII and his many wives and everything like that. So I think my son out of nowhere must have questioned about rape. You know what I mean? So then they were just like, you can't ask that and stuff like that. Where do you get that from? And I was like, unfortunately, I have a very inquisitive child. And children are exposed to so much nowadays, it's hard to shield them from anything. And he actually heard the situation off the news, why he had questioned it. And then from that, they just put on the connotation on my son that he was just this dirty boy that was looking at the girls in the school some type of way, just because he got. And it was like, how could you say that when obviously you're talking about Henry VIII, you're talking about how many wives he's got? That's got my son thinking like, hold on here. Do you know what I mean? That's why he asked the question. But to them, they tried to run with it and tried to like make it to the other children that my son was a problem, that he was a sexual predator at like primary school. And I was like, how can you do that? It's because he asked you one question.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I just took that upon myself to educate him, because I was just like, he was asking because he was inquisitive, not because we had exposed him to anything. He just saw the news and heard the news, and he didn't know what it was. So he decided to ask an adult. And because of what he was talking about at that time, he just decided to ask an adult. And I felt that the way they dealt with it wasn't right. Instead, they pulled me in, started to accuse me of all sorts of stuff, and then just put my son down as a sexual predator, and then made the other children be afraid of him.
At what age
but
was
he
it?
had never shown. That was about, I think it was year 3 going into year 4. So I think he would have been about 7,
Right.
8.
Right. I mean, but the key thing as well is that you saw this going on and you took responsibility. You stepped in.
Yeah.
You had
like, he's my child.
Yeah, you had a perspective of, I'm going to make a difference here. I'm not going to leave essentially my child and my next generation in the hands of other people. I'm going to be responsible.
Because when you think about it, unfortunately, it's not, I mean, there are black teachers, but unfortunately we see it. There are more white female teachers than there are black teachers. And children are spending about 6 to 7 hours a day, 5 days a week in school with these people that sometimes don't understand our backgrounds and our cultures, and they just go based on the media of what the perception is of a black person. So sometimes when they take certain things that our children must say or ask, they just take it as something negative rather than trying to educate. And that started to bother me. There was like, why is there not more black faces in education that children can look up to? Because when I step into the school, sometimes teachers are like, how do you get that respect from the kids? How do you get their attention like that? How do you say something and the whole class goes quiet? How? And I was like, because I probably look like some of their mothers. So when I speak and say stop doing that, that automatically sounds like mum at home telling them to stop doing that. So that's why sometimes they respond to me a little bit better. So I wanted to like build on that. And if I'm honest, within UDA, I try to hire black people. You know what I mean? Because I just want there to be more of us that they can see in the positions. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it was for me. It started off with issues with my son, and I didn't like it. I started to see that was more happening to more and more children, especially black boys in school. And I wanted to do something about it. I didn't want to be that person in school that was always negative. I wanted to shed some positivity to them and empower them. That's where we are today.
The thing as well is, so with what you do with UDA, it was a personal responsibility. You set it up. And what you do is you use fitness as a way to train children. And you saw the difference that made with your son. And when you say you want to also have, mainly try to hire black people within your business, is so when they go to those schools, that the people that are training them are people that they can relate to. And that's why you're doing that.
Yeah.
So at this point of fitness, I'm also going to bring in a really great person in terms of fitness, because we're talking about how to be powerful during challenging times. And definitely fitness is a big part of that. So fitness is a big part of how to be powerful during challenging times. So on the line, there's two people who deal with fitness.
Yeah, definitely.
So Katrina, I've just added Dennis. Hi there, Dennis. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Good afternoon.
Brilliant, brilliant. So the reason why Dennis is on, so one of the things that I'm big on is you must have coaches. You must have mentors in different areas of your life. So I'm a coach. I have 2 coaches and 2 mentors separate to each other. So the 2 mentors work together, but I still go out and I still get coaches. The 2 are within business. My 3rd coach, this is my personal trainer, my fitness coach. So there's things that I don't see that he can see, that he coaches and trains me on. And I think at a time like this, it's also important to be clear on the power of fitness, on the power of using fitness to build resilience. In Katrina's case, for young children, our fitness is an access to being resilient and dealing with setbacks and growing again, dealing with success and growing again. And I've got Dennis on because I say this guy's one of the top PTs in the UK. From work I've done with Get Hench, we work with lots of different personal trainers, and there's something that's different about him that I'd like people to be aware of. So both of you guys are on together. So let's talk about, Katrina, what you do with young people and using fitness to build resilience. Dennis, what you do with people generally and how fitness is important now. Please.
Yeah, I'll kind of echo a little bit of what Katrina was saying at the back end of what she was saying before in regards to UDA and her organization and only hiring black people. I think it's very important for especially young black boys to see people that look like them, in places of education, sports and things like that. There isn't enough black role models out there for young boys and young girls, so it's quite important that they see faces like that, and they are going to be a lot more receptive. Katrina, you were saying that people are wondering why is it that when you speak to these kids, they're so receptive to you. Is because they can identify with you more. They see someone that's got that looks like them. So someone that can understand their situation and their position, so they're more likely to identify with you. So it's very similar to what we do. An organization that I work with and I'm mentor within called Manhood Academy Global, which is a rites of passage organization for young black boys. So I've been able to carry my skills over through coaching athletes and young athletes and professional athletes and world-class athletes to 5-year-olds or 7-year-olds or people that just recovered from surgery or an injury, and all of that is all to do with most of what I end up doing. Me and Ade have long talks about a lot of this. Is I end up doing a lot of mindset work, in terms of building resilience. In order
that
to be
the M word,
mindset. There you go. Something that I used to tell a lot of young athletes, and something that I used to tell a lot of my clients is, at the highest level of sports or at the highest level of any discipline, the skill sets are very much the same. When you look at a lot of athletes at certain levels, everybody's fit, everybody's strong, everybody's very skilled. But what makes the difference between those that stay at a particular level and those that rise to world-class level, or those that really dominate, is mindset. What is different in their minds? What is it that's unique about thinking of the people that are really at the top. So once again, it all comes down to mindset. So I end up doing a lot of mind coaching with these clients. But in terms of building resilience, it's almost like, especially in challenging times, it's pushing yourself to limits that you previously didn't feel that you could push yourself past. Recently, Ade, when we do our fitness sessions, one of Ade's kind of nemesis was burpees as an exercise.
Don't say this. But yeah,
hate those.
Yeah.
Now this is good.
Everybody hates burpees. Yeah.
I used to hate burpees when we first started. So at the start of the lockdown, then they started to do his sessions online twice a day, and I was thinking, how on earth am I going to keep fit when there's a lockdown and the gym is closed? And I'm here until like October. I'm thinking, what are you doing till October? And he started doing these sessions, and then I realized that the Wednesday session is burpees, and my brain went to, how do you do burpees again? Like, how's it gonna work? And we went through. Yeah, Dennis, I'll let you say more about me doing burpees.
Yeah. So so Ade used to say, why is Dennis smiling? Why did you get so excited when you mentioned burpees? I tell Ade, for me, it's the case when I first started doing burpees, because they're challenging, they're difficult. But what I used to do is I used to kind of smile through it, or kind of attack him with as much energy and as much vigor as I can, and that will kind of give me the momentum to carry right through. But what happened over a few weeks ago, Ade messaged me and he said, "Yay, new PB! I managed to do so and so burpees, or they're not hard anymore. I can actually do them." But the reason he was able to get to that point in the first place is he just kept doing it. He was consistent with it. He kept facing his fears week in, week out, or day in, day out, and he kept doing it. And now, burpees are easy for him. He's breaking personal bests every session. So once again, what that has done is it's built resilience within him, right? Not only has it built physical resilience, but it's also built emotional and mental resilience. So, which then means that if I can achieve this thing that I up to this point thought was so difficult, just by facing it, embracing it, attacking it, and being consistent with that, what else is there in life that I find difficult that I can't achieve? So it's that kind of mindset.
So what if somebody that's online, or somebody that's going to be watching this later, but there's so much going on during the lockdown, like it's very difficult outside. How can I focus on fitness? There's a lot of things going on in my life right now. How can I spend time on fitness? What would you say to that person?
I'd say one of the things I tell a lot of my clients is that your health is your wealth, right? A lot of people, especially during lockdown, a lot of people kind of worried financially and concerned financially. And I like to give this analogy or this kind of example where there's a lot of rich people out there. There's a lot of millionaires laying in deathbeds, or a lot of millionaires have got terminal illnesses. So your health is your wealth. You need to look after your physical health, your mental and emotional health first and foremost, before you can think about amassing any kind of wealth past that point. But exercise has got this unique ability, especially when it comes to people when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to fear and stress and things like that. Exercise, as people know, helps to produce endorphins, or this feel-good hormone, that kind of floods your bloodstream when you exercise, and especially, after you exercise. So that is a way that you can help. Exercise is massive in terms of helping to combat anxiety and fear. And this is one of the main things that I was really talking about at the beginning of lockdown, was the whole fear narrative and the fear mongering that was going on in terms of what was being spread. And you had WhatsApp messages and messages on Instagram, and you have friends and family sending you all kind of fear narratives. And sometimes it's a case where you kind of need to block yourself off from whatever's going on in the outside world and really focus on you. And and that's basically one of the reasons that I started lives. I said I was going to do them at 9 a.m. in the morning, 6 p.m. in the evening, Monday to Friday, without fail, so that they would be like an oasis, or a source of hope, a source of encouragement source of positivity, you know, where you could kind of log in and there's positive energy. Everybody on the live's positive. The banter in the chats is positive, this, that, and the other. So, so something that could kind of combat the really negative, you know, vibe out there, or the negative news that was being spread.
That's great, Dennis. Thank you. And Kuchina, can you talk about that as well? Talk about how the work you do with children on fitness. Talk about the two things you do, because there was something you said that you see that as a way for them to build resilience, and I'd never seen it that way before. And I thought, of course, makes perfect sense.
So basically, for myself, I've always had a dancer background. So like I said, I'm from Peckham and I'm from the heart of it. So I started community dance at the Damietta Taylor Centre. I'm sure everyone's aware of the story. So I started community dance there, went off to uni, went to an area that there was no black people, and it was really hard for me. And I was actually going to leave. It was like Emmerdale Farm when I got there. So I was going to leave and my mum said to stay. And my mum said to stay. My mum said, give it to Christmas. And I really believe it was because I had always been a part of community dance from a young age. Plus I did gymnastics, and anyone that does gymnastics knows gymnastics is hard. You're going to break yourself. You got to break yourself. So I believe that I formed my resilience from that and why I was able to get through that situation. So when I came home, I was like, I need to share this with my people in order for us to be successful and to break free from this whole poor socio-economic background that they try to keep us in. We need to develop this and make this stronger. So I started to say to myself, the only way we can eradicate it is if we start with early intervention, because like I've always said, early intervention to me is the best prevention. So I recognize that dance, gymnastics, fencing, it recreates the adversities that we will face in life, the ups and downs. And I wanted to really look into that. So that's why my course is over 10 weeks, over 3 terms. And those 3 terms explore the acronyms in the business names. So we got Be Unique, Dream Big, and Stay Ambitious. So the first term, we explore self-esteem, confidence, what makes you you. Do you know what I mean? Constructive criticism, how to get to improve yourself. So I get the children into the space. We do some, whatever the school or they've decided to take up, which could be either fencing, gymnastics, or dance. We explore that area. So I created like a syllabus and a range of skills that they have to work towards for that year, for that term, sorry. So we do a workout, say it's about half an hour, to release all the happy endorphins and the positive feelings. And then we spend the last half an hour of the session exploring that and how that helps us develop our mindset. So the first term is about positive affirmations. So I teach them what it is, how to use it, and how it makes them recognize the unique abilities of themselves. And then the second term is spent time around the acronym Dream Big. And that's about mindfulness. What is that? Create dreams, have dreams. Your dreams are supposed to be so big that they scare you, but some young people are not taught that. So again, we have another range of skills. Those skills are going to be, the skills are also progressive as well. So each term, the skills get harder. So it makes them have to work harder and work more. And then if there's any times in that space where they feel down, where they feel negative, that's when we explore, how do we get over that? And then that's when I teach them, that's resilience. That's what you're looking to build in your life. And then the third term is exploring Stay Ambitious, and that's about goal setting. What are goals? What do they look like? How do you set realistic goals? But we use for that. So what I do is I say to them, okay, we've been doing fencing for this term. This is our last term of fencing. What do you feel you need to work on? It might be agility, it might be speed, it might be endurance. Then I say to them, okay, how are we going to test that? We create a test. And then I say, you've got between now and the end of the term to get better. And then they have to test themselves again at the end of the term. So I do all these things to teach them how to build resilience. And that's why I use the sport, because to me, from the background that I was in, sport and dance was the best way to recreate the ups and downs of life for children and young people. And that's what we do. And that's how we build resilience. And I chose those 3 sports because, one, they were my background, but also I thought they brought something different for each person, so there's something for each child. So I always say, if your child is shy and not very confident, put them on the dance program. If your child is lazy and doesn't like to work out too much, put them on your gymnastics program, because that's going to really push them. If your child is angry a lot and needs to blow off steam and gets frustrated, put them on the fencing program. And this is why I have strategically put those sports and those subjects in place. And that's what we do to build resilience. And then I also employ young Black people, because I feel like if they take up the training to be a coach for UDA, then they get to learn about mindsets, healthy mindsets, positive mindsets, and resilience themselves, because I have to teach them how to teach the program. So that's what we do here at UDA, and how we cover from 5-year-olds right up to 25-year-olds.
Brilliant. So 5 to 25-year-olds, hope that answers Kamal's.
So we start from primary school age, from 5-year-olds, and the reason why I start, also the reason why I used sport as well, because I knew that schools were going to get the sport. Say that again?
Yes, just really quickly.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So the age is 5 to 25, right?
5 to 25, and the reason why is because I knew schools were going to get the sports premium after the Olympics, and I wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because mental health and obesity is rising in May to just pair the both.
Sure. We're kind of losing you slightly. So you're
I don't know if you heard me, because I don't know if it's my internet or your internet. I think it's mine.
Yeah, so you're flickering. So
did you hear that last part? Yeah, I think it might be mine with the weather today. I've got
Dennis, I'll come to you. So just really quick, so just in closing, what would you say, what are the top 3 things, top 3 tips from you, and 1 tip that people can take on within the next 24 hours? So we've got like 6 minutes left for this section. So what would you say in top 3, 24 hours?
Okay, there's top 3 tips I'd say is number 1 is to educate yourself when it comes to health and fitness. You know, there's so much information out there. There's loads of information on YouTube. I think the problem is there's too much information out there. Now, that's one of the problems. But it's always important to kind of educate yourself, so you kind of arm yourself with education. Number 2 is to, don't overthink fitness. Get started. I think a lot of times people wait, and they want to wait until the the situation's perfect. You know, they got the right, footwear, they got the perfect kind of workout gear and this, that, and the other. The most important thing is to get started. Once you get started, you will then find that, it will enable you to build momentum, and then you'll find out exactly what you need. Yes, I need a new pair of trainers, or I need this kind of training gear. And then the other thing as well is, just kind of being, looking at what you're putting in your body. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. And that is one thing that you could probably, the one thing that you can start straight away is just start moving. Something as simple as going out for a half-hour walk around the park, or going out and getting some air. It's very, very important. Getting some more oxygen in your blood, and just doing something with your body that will get you feeling a lot better. That's one thing that you can do straight away. Or you can join one of my lives. Monday morning.
So literally, the number 1 thing is educate yourself. Number 2 is just get started. Number 3 is you are what you eat. And then you also, within 24 hours, is just to go for a walk, to go to the park for like half an hour. And what I'll also say is, so Dennis has these lives that take place from this coming Monday from 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. If you want to get fit, get on it. If you haven't got a personal trainer, or you're not in the gym at the moment, I'd say that's one action you can definitely take. I will have his details available on our site, so you can see how to get hold of him. So our goal is to have that all up, we said, from yesterday by 7 p.m. Monday. But if you want, we could post something into the chat so you can go to his Facebook page so you can see the kind of fitness sessions he does.
Yeah, and my Instagram as well. So we, in fact, from Monday, we're going live. In fact, we're going live on 3 platforms. So we're live on Instagram, we're live on Facebook, and we're live on YouTube as well at the same time. So I think the good thing about YouTube is you can actually cast that onto your screen, your TV screen. So you've got a nice large TV screen, so you can kind of see everything. I think a lot of people were asking for that. In the early days, they were like, "Oh, why aren't you on YouTube?" But we're on YouTube now. So.
That's amazing. So we just posted that into the chat as well.
Awesome.
Katrina, I think you're back. So just from you, what are your top 3 tips for people, and what would be one that they can do within 24 hours?
Okay, so develop a strong mind, lead a strong life. Tip number 1. To just try and put your child into as many different things as you can to find out what it is that they like, which one they would take to. Like, get them to try football, try gymnastics, try anything possible to find out which one they want to do. Because that's what I did with my son. And he decided that it was going to be BMX. Look into, if you every sport has like a foundation. If you go onto their like gymnastics, there's British Gymnastics. If you go on the website, they can tell you where your closest club is, and they can also tell you if there's a community interest one, because I know not everyone can afford those things. But yeah, if you go on the internet, you will always find some sort of free class. And my last tip is gratitude list. That's something we do in our house quite a lot. We, at the end of the day, before we go to bed, we all have to say 3 things that we're grateful for, because it helps us to stay focused on the positive. And my tip for the 24-hour would be to go to www.uda.org.uk and register your interest so that we can hit you up when we are back out of lockdown and we're doing classes again.
Okay, cool. So that can be done within 24 hours.
That could be done within 24 hours.
Not straight away. Could be done right now.
Totally.
Could be done right now. Register.
And the thing is, so the reason why I put this segment into the couple of days for everyone is fitness. Your physical fitness is a key part of everything that you do. It's huge. If the body's not in a good shape, it impacts your productivity in all areas of your life. One of the things that I work with people on is we deal with the mental, so the mind, conscious, unconscious. We deal with the soul, the emotional element. We deal with the spiritual element. We deal with the physical element. They all need to work together in tandem. If all of them are working well in tandem, you produce results. It's how this thing is designed. So just like a closing 30 seconds from each of you. What do you want to say, Dennis, in like 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds to Katrina?
Yeah, I guess what I'd say is, once again, your health is your wealth. Very important to look after your health. And also, health is very, very important for your mental health.
Sorry, I missed that. I think my intro is messing up.
Yeah, Dennis, continue.
So your physical health will massively impact on your emotional health. So something as simple as exercising for half an hour will massively impact your mental health, especially if you suffer from things like depression or anxiety. And like I said, I worked in a mental health unit, a forensic mental health unit with the NHS for a year, and my job was to get patients off the wards and take them to exercise classes, 3 times a week, and that had a massive impact on their mental health for even days after. So
amazing. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Katrina. Just final closing words in like 30 seconds.
I think she's muted herself as well. Okay,
can you hear me, Katrina? So just 30 seconds. What would be your last closing words in 30 seconds?
I didn't hear what you said. I don't know what is going on with my internet today. The wind is just messing it up.
Yeah.
30 seconds. Closing words.
Say that again one more time. 30 seconds to...
Closing words in 30 seconds.
Oh, closing words. Just try and take a step to just be healthy. Even if it's just going outside for a walk, and do it with your child, because you got to remember, children are always watching. They're watching you for the example. There's no good keep telling your child be better, do better. You've got to do better as well. So if you want your child to be healthy, if you want your child to go off and be a good person, get a good job, you've got to show them that. You've got to be that example. Don't leave it to other people. Don't leave it to the education system. They're your children. You do it. And if you can't do it, we should be helping as a community.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Katrina, thanks for that. Thank you, Dennis. Great having you both on.
You're welcome.
So yeah, have a great one, and we'll definitely catch up.
And you.
See you later.
Hey. Ade, catch you later.
Definitely. See you later, bro.
See you later.
Yeah. So for those of you that are on, so fitness is huge. So fitness is a big part. Over the lockdown, I've actually lost weight. I've been at home and I've lost weight because I've been working out with this guy like 5 days a week. Makes a huge difference. I can do it in my house, and then I can go for walks. Just to encourage you, don't ignore the fitness element. The fitness element, you've got to deal with what I call the chimp. You've got to deal with, oh, I'm really tired. Oh, I don't want to do another one. Oh man, when is this going to finish? but then being able to just quieten that voice and go again is huge. And then that helps with my productivity in business. So it helps me to be productive when I'm coaching people because I've spent an hour working out. Makes a big difference. And I will gladly give you the details to Katrina and to Dennis so you can jump on and be involved with the sessions that they do. And for Dennis's one, it's really easy. You can jump on 9 a.m. Monday or 6 p.m. Monday, or just go along to his one of his platforms, and then you can basically see what he does, and you can see sessions. So I'm about to bring on the next person right now. This is somebody who we came in contact back in the last year, and he does some really amazing work. And it did something with me. Went through some kind of personality analysis, personality test, and I thought it was just really incredible. Now, just to say this, personality tests are not fixed. It's not like this is now it, done, forever, fixed. But it's an interesting thing to consider. It's an interesting thing to consider. I just thought, I'd like to have what he has to offer. I'd like to have that available to Black boys and young Black men and to our community. So his name is Marcus. I'm going to add him to the stream. Marcus, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. That last session was amazing because part of my story was I did martial arts. I did capoeira, qigong, and karate. And like all of that helped me with my frustration and anger. Like people who've gone through what I've gone through either end up in jail, dead, incarcerated, in the military, lost. And it's because of those physical activities and getting mentor and coaching that helped me like survive and thrive. So like that last session was right on point.
Brilliant. That's amazing. And just take it from there. So your session's about personal mastery in life, business, and relationships.
Yes.
So life definitely applies to every single person. I don't even say business. I'm of the mind that in your houses, parents, you've got young entrepreneurs. You've got young entrepreneurs that want to start their businesses. They're talking about where they want the businesses to grow. And I'm of the opinion, and I'm encouraging you to encourage that mindset. Getting a job isn't necessarily the way or the only way. For the next generation, I believe for many of them, it's about starting businesses and about growing their businesses and scaling. So what Marcus would talk about would definitely deal with that. And also relationships. Everything is a relationship. Mm-hmm. Parent to child, child to friend, all of it. It's all a relationship. So yeah, so Marcus, you're going to go into that session and just tell us a bit about your story. Tell us a bit about you.
Got it. Is it possible to share my screen?
Not just, yeah, you can do. I mean, like, you're not from London by the accent, so just tell us a bit about that as well. But yeah.
So you want my background before I share my screen, right?
No, you could do you know what? Share your screen and I'll bring it up.
Okay. Thank you about that. Sorry about that. All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna pop that on. Bear with me.
Right. Yeah. Sorry about this. We went over this before, but about my background. So born in the US, I come from a small town in New York. It's called Rochester. It's the murder capital of the US. Well, it used to be the murder capital. It's a small town, but lots of violence, lots of crime. Kodak and Xerox used to be very popular there. So Kodak, cameras, Xerox is a copy machine. Back in the 80s, mid 90s, they're very popular. And from my town, I would have been considered a success if I got a job at Kodak or Xerox. So people were expecting me not to go to college, not to go play basketball, not to become a millionaire. They wanted me to get a factory job because people in my family in that town did that. That was the mind frame. And unfortunately, Kodak went belly up. Xerox, I don't even know what's going on with them anymore. So the town was decimated with like poverty, crack cocaine, violence. Families were breaking up. And I grew up all around this trying to figure out who I am, what do I do, and what's next. And I basically kind of raised myself, observing the reality of what happened around me, trying to grow, nurture, and mature.
Thank you for that. And also, so if you share your screen, can you make it full screen?
Yes, sir. Okay. Sorry
And
about
while
that.
that's loading up, so something that I definitely want to touch on is it ties in about the expectations we have for young people, expectations that we have for our children, for our boys and our young men. It's very important that we don't impose our expectations on their talents. So from what Marcus has just said, from where he grew up, Kodak and Xerox were the big thing. And the expectation was if you work in Kodak and Xerox, you are successful. And now Kodak is no longer in business. Instagram came along and saw to that. So we have to think from a place of we're preparing our children for the future and for many things that we haven't even seen ourselves. So the development that they need to have has to be one that develops the person and develops them and has them grow. So that's certainly something I'd love to leave you all with, that we're developing the young black boys and the young black men to be great leaders for the future. And that we need to develop that greatness and that uniqueness.
Okay.
Yep.
We're all set.
So your screen is gone again. Can you bring it up again?
Is it there?
No.
Okay. Let me go back to sharing. 1 second. Sorry about that. Share screen.
Okay, hold me. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it up like this and not try to figure out what's going on with this. It worked yesterday, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's roll with it.
Yep. So as I was saying, I'm Marcus Campbell. I don't like saying I'm a consultant, educator, coach. Those are how I administer my services. So as you can see, I'm an intrinsic motivation specialist. That simply means that there's something inside of you, God-given, environmentally given, passed on to you. That's your own greatness. And that's your causal story. Your causal story is what causes you to be who and how you become great. Once you figure out what causes you to be you and make peace with that and know what makes you great, then you can go out there and do success. So I help people do this by way of consulting, educating, and coaching. That's a key term. Never say you're a coach or a consultant or just an educator. That's a motive of how you administer your skills and abilities. Make sense?
Okay, cool.
Can I click the slide? Nope, I got to click. No problem. I had it all animated, no problem. So again, I graduated from Columbia University, which is a top 10 university in the world. I didn't grow up becoming the smartest person in the world. I think I'm so very smart, but not the smartest person. And I have 2 advanced degrees. Now, I barely graduated high school, and I later went into Columbia, graduated, and I got into creating my own company, Campbell and Associates. Here, my consulting firm. And now recently, because of quarantine, I mean, what did you do during quarantine? I launched another business, my consulting firm, Simple Consulting. And again, this goes back to my intrinsic interest. I want to help people find out their story and figure out the grit, put it together, and give you a form of self-mastery. So all of this on the screen here tells you how I went to Columbia. I deserved to get in. The skill set and the grades were not there, but I made it through by finding coaches and finding my story and pushing forward. So this brings me to my first point. Write this down. Is it time to update your thinking and mental programming? It's not really a question. It's really a thing to do. You might want to consider that. So personally with me, I spent maybe the last decade being single. Now, it wasn't because I was too busy with work or school. It was because mentally, my mindset was I wasn't worthy enough. I didn't want people to spend time on me. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I had anything inside of me worth giving to someone else. And that was a false lie. Now, I had to think to myself, where did this come from? Going back to my lifestyle, I was raised in a household in which I was beaten and abused and lied to. There would be times where I would come home and I was so afraid to engage, I would hide in my room or hide in the basement. And when people throw constantly negativity and garbage at you for 10 years or for 20 years or for whatever your situation is, when you grow up in life and you fail, you start thinking like, well, I'm supposed to fail. I'm a nobody. I'm garbage. So there was part in my life in which I just was not doing good, but I thought it was normal. It was my mentality that I didn't deserve better. So again, I spent the whole decade missing out on opportunities, work, relationships, in school because I didn't think I was worthy enough. So again, is it time for you to update your mental programming? Please write that down. So one of the ways I got out of that was self-awareness. And self-awareness is, like a conscious understanding of who you are and your abilities. Now, during this conference, it was said that sometimes, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments. So so sometimes it's understood that you need someone behind you or around you to help you understand that. So awareness is great. Self-awareness is even better, but make sure there are people around you to get that into you. Now, authenticity means being your truth, being your true self. And if you're listening to the media, TV shows, and your friends, can they really speak to who you are? Here's one of my favorite quotes. In a world that is constantly asking you to not be yourself, being yourself is a great accomplishment. Again, mindset. You have to take control of your mind and be who you are. So I have to apologize for the next slide. Parents, please don't get mad. It's not what you think. So when you look at this, what do you see?
So that's a question for everyone. So when you see this picture, what do you see? What do you think he's doing?
Throw it out.
Put it into the chat.
Yeah.
What do you think he's doing?
Anything. Yep.
Come on, don't be shy.
Some of that. Definitely. So two things. We don't know what he's doing. Only thing we can do is look at what he's doing and make an assumption about what he's doing.
Yeah, well, I said it looks like he's swearing.
It does. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the next slide. So this is the same picture, a different angle. Now we really know what he's doing. So this goes back to perception. So right now, Black Lives Matter. There are people who look at Black Lives Matter as a negative thing because they don't have the full scope of picture. So in our own personal lives, how are we doing that? How are we only looking at things from one perspective and not seeing both perspectives? Personally, how do you do this? All struggle is not bad. Frederick Douglass once said, without struggle, there can be no progress. What does that mean? Going back to the last conversation about fitness. In fitness, you struggle. Burpees, you struggle. But with that struggle, you become more fit. If I can't animate, here's my muscle. It's not that big right now, but I have a weight. When I pull against that weight and I struggle against it, my muscle grows. So change your perspective and believe that all struggle is to help you get to the next place. Next exercise, get ready. What do you see? Type it in the box.
Yes, when you see this screen, what do you see, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? When you see this, what do you see here? You can please type into the chat.
Okay, I see some answers. Yep. So to be honest, when I see this, I saw the bunny over here. I don't want to give it away, but that's what I saw.
Yeah. So for me, like I saw a bunny, I saw a cat, and I saw a dog.
Right there. Yep.
So cat in the middle, dog to the left, or as I see it.
Right. Now here comes the next slide.
Yeah.
Same slide. I hope you can see it. So I just added more light to illuminate the picture. What do you see now? Look closely. Look beyond what you saw the last time. I'll help you out too. What is this over here at the bottom?
So hold on. So Bernard says people. D.W. Wade said bunny, cat, dog. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Reese says he sees. What does Reese see? Dunny, dog, bunny, cat. Cool. Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Look closely now. Look at the edges.
Okay. Yes. When you look at the edges, people, what do you see now? Someone says a baby.
Yep.
People in loving photos.
Yes.
Two people, human faces. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes. So the purpose is our perception and our upbringing causes us to only focus on certain things. These are the same two pictures. Same picture. If you look here, there's the baby. Look here, there's the family. But because only the white is illuminated, we automatically focus on that point and not seeing everything. So I'm just showing you before you act, pause for a moment and gather the right information.
Mm-hmm. So the power of perception, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So in life, sometimes we perceive we can't do anything. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, why can't you do that? Who told you can't do that? Again, this goes back to, is it time to update your own thinking? If God didn't tell you can't do it, then don't believe you can't do it.
Great, thank you. Cool.
Make this smaller. So earlier we were talking about yesterday, subconscious programming. So there are about 36,000 thoughts a day. I never counted it. I tried to, I forgot about it and I came back to it. And 80% of them are negative. That should tell you something about yourself. Like, what is the media putting into your mind? What is the video games putting into your mind? You should be putting things into your mind to help you get success. And again, according to the slide, 90% of it is repetitive thoughts. It's the same thought over and over and over again. So today I'm in the US in Washington, D.C. It's about 12:30 here. And I literally thought about breakfast like 5 times. I'm like, that's not important. But I thought about it 5 times. But I should have thought about maybe how am I growing? How am I leveraging my relationships? Am I exercising? Am I doing fit things? Like, you should surround yourself with positivity on purpose to control your brain, to reprogram your mind. So next exercise, here's the question. What do cows drink? What do cows drink? Type it.
Put it into the chat. What do cows drink?
What do they drink?
Come on, don't be shy. I know you guys. I know you guys aren't shy. So let's just pause. I want to see what people say to this one.
Yes.
Well, I'm seeing water. But I know you thought about it. But what's the first thought? The first thought you thought before your second thought was what? When you saw this slide? Everyone's now saying water. So here's the thing. Yeah, somebody was honest. Somebody said.
Thank you for being honest.
Simon said milk.
Yeah.
So for those of you that said water, it's the right answer. But the first thought after you saw silk was milk. For most people, was the first thought. So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, thank you for being honest. And again, we were talking about perception and slowing down. So thank you for not yelling out, milk, but I wanted you to. But that's just to show you on how something so small and so common, it happens all the time. We speak before thinking. And in life, business and relationships, we have to think. Think, pause before acting, not the opposite. So again, this is not animated. I would have loved it to be animated, but who you are is great, but it's not enough alone. You have to also apply yourself. Again, this is the combination of being authentic and having your true self. Being authentic and having self-awareness together. And these things bring you to my next point, which is discover your superpower. Everyone has a skill and an ability. Some people can read, speak 5 languages, run very fast, very good at math. Like, all of those are a superpower. Discover what yours is and how you're going to use it. And one of the ways that I'm good at finding people's superpower is using, a questionnaire, an assessment. And again, like it was mentioned before, assessments are not set in stone, that they're not perfect. It just gives you a gauge of a person's mentality and their mindset. So the one that I currently use right now is called the DISC. The D, the I, the S, and the C. The D stands for dominant. I stands for intuitive. S stands for steadiness. C stands for compliance. And to explain this assessment, which is a small questionnaire, I'm going to use like a flight crew at an airport, because I think people have gone, flying, sometimes, or they've seen movies, and you've seen, a pilot, a flight attendant, the grounds crew, and the ATC is air traffic control. So I'm going to use that as an analogy to explain it. So the first one is a pilot. And I'm going to go through this slide kind of quickly. So pilots are driven, decisive, determined, and aggressive. Natural born leaders, fast-paced, energetic. Famous personality types in this category would be Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. Think about it. On an airplane, pilots are straight to the point. They give you orders, and they want you to follow them. Sit down, buckle your seatbelt. We're taking off right now. Let's go. Those are pilots. The next have flight attendants. Sociable, persuasive, very charming, friendly, life of the party, emotionally connected. If you look at Will Smith's Instagram, you will see he's a very good a very good flight attendant. Oh my goodness. He's laughing, joking, clowning around a lot. The S is the ground crew. These people, you don't see them often, but they support everything about everything. Families, schools, structures, organizations. They keep it together. And if you look at this word right here, they are the glue that holds everything together. Famous people in this category would be MLK, Michelle Obama. They were all about making sure we came along as peacefully and had equal share, equal rights. The last category would be a C, air traffic control, analytical, careful, and orderly. They're suspicious of you and your solution. This is very much me. Sorry, by the way. I'm not very talkative, but when I do talk, I have a lot of information. Famous category types would be Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. And I know I kind of went kind of fast, so here's a little cheat sheet. So if you're a pilot, you like to learn quickly. You do well in independent study. If you're a flight attendant, you do best in groups because you're talkative. And you respond to motivation pretty well. If you're a grounds crew, you prefer to, put your task in order from which is important, which is not important. And then you prefer a balance of individual work to group work. If you're ATC, you prefer to, you may ask a lot of questions all the time. You need details before taking action. And then you also prefer not to work in groups. You want to work alone. So this is just a short synopsis of the 4 types. Now, tip number 3 is create your own positive group of influence. Nobody makes it alone. Nobody. As great as Michael Jordan was, he didn't win that one championship until he got Phil Jackson, which was his coach. And then Phil Jackson put in a system around him and created him to greatness. Again, Michael Jordan is great. He won scoring titles and everything, but he needed a system and friends. So my tip number 3 is, create your own group. Mm. And then I'm going to show a little picture of how a group works together, a little video. I'm going to play it right now.
All right, here's what we're looking at, folks. Step 1, travel undetected to Eagle Island. Step 2, we're going to break into the super weapon. Got it? Yeah. And step 3, deactivate. the super weapon. Once we break in there,
No plan.
hopefully before both our islands are destroyed and we all die. So that's it.
Right. So I just have a few questions.
Yeah, why? I explained everything. It's a foolproof plan.
Yeah. How do we sneak onto the island? What exactly is the super weapon, and how do we deactivate it? And when you say escape, how do you plan to do that exactly? Because I feel like this is a pretty crucial thing to figure out.
I agree. Why is it sheep?
Okay, so that was just a video showing you different types of interactions. Like that guy had a plan, so he thought, but the plan didn't work. You need people on your team to ask questions, to lead, and to help other people gel together. Next slide here.
Awesome. Mark, we've got about 2 minutes left of this section.
Yes.
Can you do it in that time?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can. So real quick, yeah, I have a timer too, watching it. So again, the world needs your presence. Like there's only 12% of people who are D's, 30 I's, 30 who are S's, and 28 who are C's. So it's important to figure out your strength because the world is waiting for you and your greatness. And yes, you can change. And it's all situational. When I was younger, I was a very I. I was a very emotional. I was very outgoing. But then as I grew older, I became a C, became very structured and analytical. So here are my 3 principles to live by. Please study who you are. Be authentic. And don't make assumptions. Learn your language, learn who you are, and learn how to communicate to other people. When you master yourself, and then you master giving yourself and getting into situations properly and serving, that's when the money comes. And then the third, please make small adjustments. Being perfect is impossible, but you can always make adjustments and tweaks to get better. And to recap, my top 3 tips, update your mental programming, like check it. There are people who you love. You should be asking, hey, am I doing okay? Create a positive group of influence, discover your superpower. And then to do within 24 hours. Okay. What I want you to do is to control a behavior. And we're going to do that by you writing it down. Write down a self-behavior you think is hindering you from success and achieving your goals. Like write that down. And it's due on Monday.
It's due Monday, people.
I'm giving you some time. It's due Monday, but it's 24 hours. So do you want an A+ or do you want a C? So again, the purpose is to change from what is wrong to how you can become strong. Change from what is wrong to how you become strong. Write down that hindering behavior. And then I want you to email it to me.
So info@marcusjcampbell.com. Cool. That's the homework.
Yes, that's the homework. And then one more thing, because I know people want to strive and survive. I'm also going to do, if you email me and put into the comment box 1,000 Black Boys Conference, I'm going to do a drawing and give away 1 assessment to a whole family and 1 household. So usually I do charge for it because of this movement, and I believe in your audience. I want you to email me again, put 1,000 Black Boys assessment, and then I'll do a drawing on Tuesday, and I'll contact you and give the assessment to your whole entire family. Oh, sorry, that's my alarm. Turn you off. And I'll contact your family, and then we'll do the whole entire assessment.
Awesome. That's brilliant, Marcus. Thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem.
And I mean, that's why I wanted to give this guy a platform and an opportunity to connect with people. And it's just to get you, so similar thing that he touched on. I'm going to summarize it right at the end. He touched on the M word again, so mindset and thinking. And he also went into, why do you think how you think? How come you see the world how you see the world? And please reach out to him. His details will be available through our site. You should all go and take that assessment and to see where you're at. Apparently, I'm an I/D. But yeah, cool. Okay.
All right.
So there you go.
Thank you much.
Marcus, thank you very much. Great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And connect with you soon.
Okay, definitely. Take care.
So that's Marcus. I hope you find that part very useful, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you see applications for that in your life. So what I do also want to say is, thank you, Natalie. So brilliant, thank you. It's that even with that, we're not fixed as one thing. So in certain situations, you could change, whether you're D, I, C, or S or C. But it's more who you would be right now in a given circumstance. If you're working on a project, where do you stand? Where would you be? So something to be aware of. I think it's really powerful to be aware of that. And for this part, so literally we're coming to an end very, very shortly. We've got one more panel session, and then the last 10 minutes, I really want to summarize what we've seen and what we've heard over the last couple of days. So I'm going to bring in the panel. So we're bringing back Trey. We're bringing back, so Trey, who spoke earlier on today, so from Alpha CLIQUE. And then we're also bringing back Elizabeth, who spoke yesterday from the CEO of P.O.W.E.R. And I'm also hoping that we'll have a third person join us as well, who's doing something very, very interesting. If he doesn't join us, we'll make his details available to you, because his organization, they've launched over the last 3 weeks during lockdown, and they provide mentorship opportunities for Black boys and for young Black men, and also for young people generally. So we want to give him, I want to give you that contact so you can reach out to his organization, so you can make use of what they're doing and what they're currently up to. So yeah, so there's 3 of them on right now. They're backstage, about to bring them on. Are you ready? Go on, are you ready? Drum roll, please, drum roll, drum roll. Can I get some drum roll in the chat, please? Some kind of drum roll, wherever drum roll is for you. Come on, drum roll. I'm happy to wait. I gather there's a delay. Drum roll, please. Drum roll. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Drum roll. This is so exciting. Drum roll. Let me see if I've got any drum rolls in the chat. Yes, I got some drum rolls. And I got some claps. Perfect. Thank you. D. Bernard. Amazing. So here they are. I'm gonna add Tunde. Bear with me. Elizabeth, and add in Trey to the stream.
Hey.
Amazing. So there's all 4 of us. So let me really provide the context. I'm going to let Tunde lead, because we haven't heard from him before. Like who's this new face? So for this section, it's about being a young entrepreneur, making money, and making a difference. So for Black boys out there and young Black men, the topic here is being a young entrepreneur, making money and making a difference. We'll quickly hear about Tunde, we'll hear about his story, and then I'd love to talk about a company he started called the Mentor Circle. And then also great, Elizabeth and Trey are here because they are very actively involved in mentorship and coaching. And actually Trey is also one of the coaches on the Mentor Circle. So Tunde, very nice to meet you. Tell us about yourself. How are you doing?
There. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ade, for the opportunity to be here. Really great event. I've just been listening to a few of the speakers, Marcus, and I believe it was Elaine in particular. So great content. And, firstly, thank you for the great work that you're doing. So my name's Tunde Yusuf. I am 28 years old, just turned 28. And I had a very sort of standard upbringing that you would have coming from a Nigerian background.
Oh, you as well? You had that too? Okay.
Sorry?
I said you had that as well.
We all had it. We all had it. So, I grew up in a place called Market Estate. If anyone knows what that was, it's been knocked down now in N7. One of the worst estates that you could probably imagine. There wasn't anything that we didn't have. We had, heroin, we had prostitution, we had all sorts going on in this estate. So just a really, really tough upbringing. But I was always motivated. I was always motivated to, work hard, make money. I saw my parents struggle. My mum in particular, she had 3 jobs at one point in time. And I was just I kept looking for different ways to change my situation, change my life. And I just always realized that business was the way. I needed to start a business. It was the only way where I could make enough to support myself and then also help my parents and, almost reward them for the struggle that they've been through. So pretty much from age 17, I got a job. I was working in House of Fraser. I was working in retail, but I was still looking for different ways to make money and to basically just, you know, change my life and change my situation. And I stumbled across at that time something called affiliate marketing, where basically companies and brands would pay you to promote their products online. And this was around 2009, where Facebook was just really starting to take hold. And I realized that if I could basically market these companies' products, that they would just pay me regardless. So I found an events business, and they basically said to me, look, we do events for young people. It was very much sort of nightclub and nightlife events. And they said to me, right, if you help promote this event online, I didn't have my own following, but I found ways. I started developing Facebook pages, you know, the standard meme pages that you see now, things like the Shade Room and things like I'm Just Bait. So I was basically developing these pages that just captured young people's attention. And then every now and then I would drop in some affiliate links. So I was 17 and I was making, you know, sometimes £800 a week from affiliate marketing. And that's when I caught the bug. I realized that, you know, business is really my path. I went to university. I went to a great university, University of Southampton. I left with a first. So I've done the education side. But I just believe that young Black boys in particular, and the reason I love this mission is that there's so much creativity in the Black community. There's so much ingenuity in the Black community. So we see some people using that and harnessing that creativity for bad things. But what I really want to promote is let's use our ingenuity for great things. You know, let's use our ingenuity to figure out how we can make money online, figure out how we can change our lives through, you know, through literally what I'm doing right now, sitting at home. And it's crazy because, you know, there's so many Black people who say, you know, they're struggling to find work, or they feel like they've been marginalized from the workplace, or they're not treated the same way. And we can acknowledge all of those issues. And what we have to champion now is create your own job. You know, we're in the worst economy that I think any of us have ever seen in terms of if you look at the data. So we have to be able to tell people now, how do you create your own job? How do you make an income to sustain yourself, your family, and still give back whilst working from home? So I think that's super important, and I'm glad to be here.
Brilliant, brilliant. And tell us about the mentor circle. I want you to get that out here because your details will also be available on our site.
Sure.
So what mentor circle? What's this mentor circle thing?
Sure. So the mentor circle is a new initiative that I basically started 4 weeks ago. And I basically started this initiative because I was reading a lot of data around the amount of job losses that were being reported on, especially in retail and hospitality, which a disproportionate number of Black people tend to rely on. So I started the Mentor Circle as a way for young Black people in particular to access high quality mentoring at no cost to them. So what I've done is I've built a community of mentors, people like Trey, extremely talented, extremely, you know, well regarded in their industry, to give some of their time up this summer to basically develop and deliver a program that can help 18 to 25-year-olds in particular to, you know, find their next role, or basically create their own job, like I mentioned, or grow their existing business if they already have one. And it's amazing. We only launched it 2 weeks ago. We have over 40 mentors involved. We have 170 young people who have applied. And it just goes to show that there are so many talented young people. Maybe they feel like the mentor circle can just take them to that next level or help them find that next breakthrough. So it's a one-off 6-week program. We close applications tomorrow, but I'll gladly keep them open for anyone who references 1,000 Black boys in their application.
So people can apply for that now, can they, between 18 and 25?
Absolutely. If you're 18 to 25, if you're ambitious, personally, I'm inspired by the mentors. You know, selfishly, I can't wait to learn from all of the mentors myself. So if you're 18 to 25, you know, I don't think I've ever seen something that is as comprehensive as what we're trying to deliver, and that has as many talented people, you know, delivering this program.
Couple of questions. Someone said, I'm 26 on a happy face. What about 26? Can we let Ayo Tunde Salami in?
Please apply. Please apply. Just reference 1,000 Black boys in your application, and I'll be sure to get that through for you, Ayo.
Ayatunde, you heard that, right? You better get on that today, my friend.
Please do, please do.
Literally by 7 o'clock. And then there's also someone else said, Simon said, what about teenagers?
Right. Okay, that's a great point. So because we set up so fast, we didn't know if we would be able to work with teenagers just because of legislation, etc. But once again, please apply. Reference 1,000 Black boys, and we'll make it happen. Not a problem. I just didn't. We couldn't actually market it as being for teenagers for many different safeguarding reasons.
No, that makes sense. So the reason why they haven't advertised that is just because of safeguarding. There's a policy around working with young people, so that's why. And so the details will be available for them. And we posted it earlier. It's basically thementorcircle.com.
Yes, very simple. Or the Mentor Circle on Instagram. Exactly that.
Awesome. So thank you for that, Tunde. So Trey, Elizabeth, I've got you guys on this panel for a reason. What do you hear in what Tunde has said? What do you want to share with people that are listening right now and those that will watch this afterwards?
Go for Elizabeth.
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that I've just noticed over the last 2 days, and especially in regards to what Tunde's just mentioned now, is, people have ideas. So, even if it sounds or seems so random.
Can you increase your volume, please?
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can, but it sounds a bit low. I know you can talk louder than that.
What about now?
Okay.
Now? Now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, I'll move closer. So everyone has an idea, or you've had at some point in your life, you've had like this mental ping, and it's like, oh my goodness, that is such a great idea. That is something that would be really good for society. And then whatever happens, it just kind of gets lost in the ether in a sense, or maybe it just kind of stays in the backburn, or, it's like, oh, it's too hard. It's not possible. It's not easy to do. And somehow, somewhere, you stop yourself from actually going ahead and actually doing that thing. And then it's like, oh, then someone else will do it a few years later and be like, oh, I had that idea first. Yeah. Well, the training that we've had over these last 2 days is to challenge you to go ahead and actually execute that thing. And what's been consistent this whole time has been, looking at your network, looking at who's around you, looking at others, looking at your responsibility, how you can own this thing, who you need to speak to have coaching or mentoring. And you're never too young. There's just so many opportunities now, especially for Black people, I believe, because the conversation now has drifted to Black people and Black lives, and making it in a sense like what we have to offer now is like there for people to now use. And so therefore, there's now, I don't believe there's an excuse anymore. And, I think there's now a listening, so to speak, like the people are aware and ready to listen up to what we have to say. And I think it's an amazing opportunity to start doing that and to take advantage of it.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this the thing I want to also pick out and emphasize, and maybe Trey can continue from here is, so one, Tunde set this up within 3 weeks. You would think he's got nothing better to do with his time, or like he doesn't do anything else. So he set it up within 3 weeks. And the thing I really also want to emphasize, Black boys, young Black men, is don't be a victim of circumstance. Don't be confined to, I can't do this because of that. I'm really passionate about this, but I can't do it because of these and that reasons. And this is in my way. And I'm linking it together like this. Tunde has very valid reasons to not do this within 3 weeks. But he didn't let circumstances, he didn't let COVID, the lockdown, he didn't let those things get in his way. He basically said, I want to achieve this, and I'm going to make it happen. And he did that. And that also ties in perfectly with what we're doing right now. So the vision, this vision for this was there. Our team got together on the 8th of June. Monday was the first time we got together. And I was like, hi guys, let's get together at least 400 people. I had them register 400 people. And it seemed like, this guy is a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Are we going to do that? But I prepared their minds for, let's have 40 people together. Let's just go for it. Do you know, in total, we've had 563 people register for this session through Eventbrite. So 563. Monday this week, we had 31 attendees. 31 attendees, 31. Last week, we had 5. Today, in total, 563 have registered. I'm saying, don't be reasonable. There's so much at stake right now. Black boy, young black man. Don't be reasonable. There's too much at stake. Grab it by the horns and completely go for it. People are available to have your back. Momentum in society is changing. And we want to go further past protests and statues coming down. Protests and statues coming down are good. We want to go beyond that. We want to go to economic empowerment, that you create businesses, you have your own revenue. We can create a community that's based on revenue, and we are financially powerful. A key thing that Tunde also said, before I pass on, he said, business is the way. Trey, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to acknowledge Tunde because he got it done so quickly, and there was something about it. It was a mutual friend that just literally, she saw it on Instagram, and there was something about it that immediately resonated. I didn't know nothing about it. I'd never met Tunde before, nothing. But there was something about the vibe, the page, everything about it that just jumped out at me. So Tunde, just thanks for being that kind of person. I know you're busy, but you've taken your time out to create something so amazing in such a short space of time. Like, it's just an honor and privilege to be part of it. Same as you added with Downs Fat Boys. And I think one of the themes that's jumping out at me for this weekend is collaboration. So when I talk about others, having a mentor and having a coach, I think it's also collaborating. I think once we get together as a community and collaborate, you really do see the level of power that's there, and that's jumped out. And I think that jumped out at me from this weekend. It's just people really taking on responsibility for themselves and making it happen. Like you guys have both just done that. There hasn't been a conversation for it. It's not possible. It's just, we're going to get it done, and that's it. It's exactly what I talked about me in the music business. It's the same thing. People thought it's impossible, Trey. How are you going to top that? How are you going to do this? I'm like, it's just going to get done. Simple as that. And I just love that sense of, for me, when I hear that, I hear empowerment. I really do hear, I don't care what the world is doing. I literally don't care what the world is doing. I don't care if there's a recession. I don't care if the sky is falling down around our heads. I'm still going to come from what can I do right now? Literally, it's always going to be, what can I do right now? Because for me, power starts from within. Simple as that. So who can I be in the face of anything that's happening in my life? And then suddenly you've got a whole world of people that are there to support you. And that's what's crazy. I said to Elizabeth all those years ago, there's like this whole world that is there ready to support you, but we get trapped in this like amygdala hijack because it's not possible. And we've got the most valid reason in the world for how it's not possible. But that's just that amygdala doing what the amygdala does. Fight or flight, we're scared it can't happen. But getting beyond that, anything's possible. I love that. Anything is possible.
Brilliant. Thank you, Trey. And you guys can dive in here, because especially for Trey and Elizabeth, actually, one thing I do want to say, Trey said that coming together as a community, coming together, like don't go it alone. You come together with other people. And what I'm going to say about that is, when you come together with other people, you have to leave ego behind. You have to leave ego behind. You have to leave pride behind. People are going to tell you what to do. They're going to give you their suggestions. And if you're the kind of person that's not open to that, that's the block. That's the block. Because when you work with other people, they'll see things that you don't see. And if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to be told or be given direction, that's the problem. That's where you're at. You have to literally put that down and say, do you know what? This is my strength. You're strong with this. Let's work together. Let's make this thing happen. So I think it's really important to highlight that. And what I also want to say as well is, don't be a victim of circumstance. Don't be a victim of society. Don't be a victim of the environment. This is coming from so for me, I came to London when I was 9 years old, as a 9-year-old. And from the age of 9 to the age of 24, I didn't see my parents because I was over here doing Nigeria. But I didn't have the means to travel back at that time. And that taught me a lot of personal responsibility. I had to grow up really quickly. And I'm just putting that out there. Black boy, young black man, be responsible. Don't be a victim of circumstance. What do you guys want to say about that? And also Elizabeth and Trey, about the importance of mentorship and coaching. You guys have done lots of stuff with coaching.
Going to go first, Elizabeth?
No, you go.
Okay, so for me, I just think you hit a ceiling when you're not getting mentorship or you're not getting coaching. I think there's only so much you can do by yourself. And I think when you are doing stuff by yourself, there's kind of like this sense of egos in the way. And you see it with, you know, again, I don't want to bring up someone like Donald Trump, but I think he's one of these people that loves that whole personal shine on me. I'm not pro him or against him, but it's that kind of narcissistic, it's just me. So anything you do, it's like he wants to grow up himself. But it puts a lid on you. It puts a lid on what's possible. There's only so much you can do. I mean, imagine Sunday or you Ade try to do everything by yourself. There's only so much hours you have in a day. Billionaire, pauper, it's exactly the same. You know, so having that mentorship, that coach, having that structure, being willing to let other people contribute. People have ideas that you don't have. I am terrible in some areas and amazing in some. That's just the nature of being human. So I have to throw the door open to someone who may know more than me. I have to throw the door open, especially to someone who may be able to whip me when I don't want to get things done, because we all deal with that. Especially people who are entrepreneurs. You're not always waking up bothered. Do you know, like I said, I've had probably the hardest year ever, you know. And if I didn't have that coach and that mentorship, you know, people around me holding me to my greatness, it's easy just to capitulate. And I think especially if you're in a culture where perhaps it's kind of expected to a certain extent, you know, and that's the truth sometimes. People are like, fair enough, it's a lockdown, this is happening. There's a lot of sympathy for you not being your greater self. Having a coach and a mentorship has you operate beyond what you think is possible. And we use the example of athletes, for instance. I mean, can you imagine Usain Bolt without coaching? He would have had that raw talent, but would he have been, right, do that start again, do the start again, do the start again, do the start again, start at 5 a.m., get up. I mean, he's in Jamaica. You know, Jamaica's probably one of the greatest party places to be. It's far easy for him to go to, you know, go to a little party and not get up for training. And that coach harnesses that talent. And what's that quote where people say, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I think that's where the coaching comes into it, when the mentorship comes into it. It harnesses that talent you had. It fights against that amygdala, that stuff that's going in your brain, that little voice that's saying no, enough, and it has you right. Step it up, step it up, step it up. I think it's impossible to really succeed without it. And I think it's impossible to truly succeed without collaboration as well. And Mandela saw that, you know, I mean, we remember him, but there was a team around him that had that happen. You know, so I think it's crucial if you're really trying to be like what I referred to earlier about being toothpaste, you can't do it alone. It's just impossible.
Brilliant. Elizabeth?
Yeah, and you know, when you have a coach or when you have a mentor, you know, they see stuff that you don't see. Like, you know, the same way that you give people advice and like, hey, why don't you try this out? Why don't you look at that? It's the same thing with a coach, but the design, rather than it being like, do this or nothing. The design of a coach is to kind of have you elevate, because it's your commitment for yourself. And like I said yesterday, like the vision that you have for yourself in your future, you need someone that's kind of like gonna prop that up and make that happen, and that be the thing that gets fulfilled in your life. So whatever you're up to, it's good to have somebody like that's on your side as your champion, pushing you forward. Also somebody who you look up to as well. So they're not necessarily on your level, they're probably ahead of you in some ways, and then you can, like, in a sense, emulate what they've done so far in terms of the success that they've had. And then so that's, again, goes back to the whole networking thing, like, so who is around you that can also speak into that and move it forward, because you could have a coach and a mentor, and then you still have your old friends or people who don't see the vision like with you, and then it kind of, again, keeps you stagnated. You've kind of got the minute you get a coach or a mentor, your whole life starts to change in a sense, because then the scales you have around where you're not moving forward, it just kind of falls away. And then you've got to kind of like redevelop or relook at who is around you to make your life work. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. And today, what would you say? What would you say are the do's and don'ts for young entrepreneurs?
Do's and don'ts for young entrepreneurs. Let's start with the don'ts. I think you have to drop the arrogance. I see a lot of young entrepreneurs in particular say, you know, I'm going to start a business because I don't want to, you know, talk to anyone. No one can tell me what to do, and I'm going to be a complete maverick. You're not going to get very far. You know, you're not going to get very far at all. So 100%, you have to drop the arrogance. You have to be humble enough to realize, okay, let's say right now, Ade, I'm going to go and start I don't know, let's say I'm going to start a sweet shop, right? First thing to do is, yeah, okay, let's say I'm going to start the best sweet shop in the world. It's going to be amazing. But number one thing I should probably do is go and speak to people who own sweet shops and say, right, how does this work? Can you please give me some advice? Because I know nothing at all about sweet shops. And, you know, that's just one example. There's a lot of people that I see, especially young Black entrepreneurs who they're so caught up in their ego, they don't go out to seek advice. And that leads on to one of the do's. You know, one of the do's is seek advice, be a constant learner. If you find somebody who you respect, and I mentioned this on your Instagram live, is be humble enough to say, you know, hey Trey, I've just seen, you have just come across your Instagram page. I think what you've done in the business world is unbelievable. I know that you're busy, but if I could please talk to you for 20 minutes, I have some specific questions to ask you about business and my journey, right?
Perfect. So we'll make that one of your tips. So one of Tunde's tips is if you see somebody on social, send them a message. Can we talk for like 20 minutes? I love what you're doing. That's number one. Yeah.
Send them a message. In terms of do you want me to jump?
Yeah, jump to it. Jump to it. We've got like 2 minutes left for this section.
Okay, no problem. So, my first tip, number one, is it leads on to what I was saying, is spend time with new people. You know, a couple of times a month, you need to be meeting new people. You need to be engaging with new ideas, understanding their mindset, understanding how new people work. Hanging around the same people all the time can make you very stale. You know, you don't keep milk in the fridge for so long. You can't have the same conversations time after time and expect to get to the next level. Number two, find a mentor. Find experienced people who've done what you want to do. Try and emulate them. Try and get close to them, and be willing to learn. And number three, very practical tip I believe all young Black people should be doing is try and increase your income. If you're making £1,000 a month right now, try and make it 1,500, whether that's through extra work, doing something different, because the momentum that will come from you trying to make £500 a month extra would lead to far more than the $6,000 a year. So number one, spend time with new people. Number two, find a mentor. And number three, try your hardest as much as possible to increase your income.
Brilliant. And one they can do within 24 hours?
Reach out to 5 people on social media that you respect and admire, and say to them exactly what I said. Please give me 20 minutes of your time. I'd love to ask you some questions. So much will come from that. It'll blow your mind.
Perfect. Perfect. That's really very, very helpful. That's great advice, people. Very, very great, powerful advice. Trey, Elizabeth, anything from you guys?
You want to go, Elizabeth? So I think to what Tunde says is best, actually. Everything I was going to say, I think the best way to learn faster is to learn from other people. So I would do the same thing. I would reach out to people. And the funny thing is, people that you think are too busy to have time for you actually do. Because most people are very much committed to making a difference. You'd be very, very surprised that people will save time for you. And I know I'm like that because I talk a lot, right? I might be like, oh, look, I'm busy. I've got 5 minutes. I'll be an hour later and thinking, God, I'm still giving it time. That's all of us. Exactly. I think Tunde's spot on. Just go out there and ask people. You'd be very surprised how much they'd want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, yeah, and people do want to contribute to you. Like, you know, we have it that oh, no one wants to talk to me because, you know, for whatever reason that's personal to you. But actually, people do want to contribute, and it's you've got to switch your mind from, oh no, I can't take up their time, to take their time. People
take their time.
Make a difference to you. They do.
Ask your questions.
It's been perpetuated for years and years, like, oh no, you can't. And I think it's kind of British as well, like, oh no, we can't do that. But no, people want to give back. So reach out.
Perfect. So guys, thank you very much for the panel. I'm looking to this side now because I've changed my screen. So thank you all very, very much. I'm also going to definitely answer Natasha Talika McKenzie's question really quickly. But yeah, so to answer that, that's one of the things we're doing at Get Hench. Reach out to us at Get Hench. We can support you with that. If we can't do it, we'll find someone for you. But you three have been amazing. Thank you all very, very much. And yeah, just thank you. Be awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Take care. Thank you, Ade. Take care.
So we're just about to close. Bear with me, just changing the screen. Sorry, bear with me. So hope that you found that useful. And I'm adding this to the stream. So we're about to close right now, everyone. We're about to close. We're about to say thank you for being involved with our conversation and our event over the last 2 days. So these are the things I do want to leave with you in closing. And this has been a common thread with all of the speakers. And I want you to really anchor this. You can take a photo of this page if you want, whatever you want to do with it, please, you can take a photo of it. So the main theme from all the speakers has been this thing about personal responsibility. Normally I'd say responsibility, but I'm saying personal to emphasize it even more. Circumstances are circumstances. Circumstances happen in life. That's how you know you're alive. If you're in life and circumstances aren't happening to you, it means that you are no longer here. It means you're dead if there's no circumstances in your life. So they happen. But the thing that's really important is that you take personal responsibility. So I'm speaking to black boys and young black men. With the things you're up to, take personal responsibility with your ideas, with your work, with working with your parents and your siblings. Take personal responsibility. And for all of you that are also listening, please take personal responsibility. It's huge. And how you do that, number one, I've got here is accountability. Accountability, as I would distinguish here, is have coaches and mentors, they're separate, and people around you. So let me talk about mentors first. So mentors are somebody who's done something that you want to do, and you find that have gone before you in a particular field. Maybe this person has worked in banking. I want to be in banking. You ask them to mentor you, or you can be part of the mentor circle. That's mentorship. Coaches are different. So mentor gives you information, gives you knowledge. A coach works with you on your mindset. Or a coach can also work with you on applying the skills or applying the knowledge you've got from your mentor and turning that into a practice which develops a skill. So a mentor gives you information and knowledge. A coach helps you to turn that information and knowledge into a skill. Or to help you to have the mindset that delivers on the knowledge and the skill. So they're separate. And third thing under accountability is have people around you that can hold you to account. People around you that can hold you to account. Have people around you that share a similar vision to you. The people that really are up to the same thing. It's important to have that. Alexia spoke yesterday afternoon about getting rid of toxic relationships. You have to just cut them off. Just put it to one side because our visions are different. If you don't do that, that will hold you back. So people around you is massively important. And what's also there is this word, mindset. It's been consistent since yesterday. Your mindset is key. It's huge. It's one of the things I definitely work on. That's what Trey works on. That's what the same thing that Dennis spoke about. Same thing that Elizabeth touched on. Elaine touched on the same thing. So your mindset is very, very important. It's the filter through which you view the world. Think about mindset. As an adult, adults, we normally make about 35,000 decisions in a day. 35,000. For a child, it's about 3,000. So you're constantly making these decisions and choices. If the mindset's in the wrong place or it's off, that's a lot of drama. That's a lot of trouble. So definitely work on your mindset. And also what's really key is be coachable. So if you get given feedback, don't see it as criticism. Embrace it. One of my previous mentors said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. Only those that want to win embrace feedback and actually welcome feedback. And that's why it's really great having coaches, mentors, and people around you that will be honest, they will be authentic, they will be straight. They won't sugarcoat it. And the third part I've got here is you have to invest in those things. You invest money and time. So Mentor Circle, they're offering something for free, which is brilliant. I'm also saying, you know, now in the environment that we've grown up in, money signifies commitment. So I'll quickly tell this story. I'm looking to the right because I'm also checking my time. A while back, I said to someone, there's this course that I'm doing, come along and do this course. I think it'd make a difference to you. I think the course was like £480 or £500. And the person said to me, what? That much money? Like, I could spend that money on a holiday. Like, that kind of thing should be free. And I was like, oh my days, what are you talking about? Like, seriously, if you spend that money on your mindset, it pays for 1,000 holidays. That the perspective was off. So I'm asking you, invest in mentors, invest in coaches, do it. Personally, I'm sure Troy probably agree, as with the other people, I spent about £15,000 on my own self-development. Yeah, I spent it. Was it that the money was just there sitting around? No, I made it work, I made it happen. That's my request for you. And the time, put the time into it. And this is the last thing I want to leave you with. I'm going to this last slide in closing, if we just load up for it. So I want to leave you with some quotes. I love quotes. I've got them up on my wall. I'm not sure if you can see, if you can look behind me. Those are all quotes on my wall. I've got them around me just to have me, yeah, when things go off, I can catch it. So, powerful quote. The greatest test of courage on earth is to bear defeat without losing heart. So if things get challenging, you have a dip. True test of courage is you can deal with that and you don't lose heart. That's by Robert Ingersoll. Another one by Martin Luther King. Faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. Sometimes you won't see all of it. You can only have an idea of the end product, but you don't see how you get there. This is about take the first step anyway. Go for it. And this one, powerful. It's on my wall right over here. It says, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. So don't be a victim of circumstance and your environment. Keep moving. You can reach out to us. There are our details. You can find us on Insta, Twitter, our Facebook page, and our website. And all the details for the speakers will be available on the 1000 Black Boys website by 7 p.m. Tuesday. By 7 p.m. Tuesday, they will all be on there for you to access. And thank you very much for being a part of this. We hope you found it very, very useful and beneficial. It'd be great to hear your feedback. But for now, go out and make a difference. Go out there and transform the world. And I've got to say this, be your awesome. Thank you very much.